Okay. Oh, I didn't make the thumbnail again. Gosh, dang it. Let me do that real quick. Oh no, hold up. I need to do that before I start, because then I'm gonna forget if I don't. I know myself too well. Alright. Need a picture. Okay, kind of low effort, but you know, on the fly. To the back. I'm annoyed too because I meant to be live like 3 hours ago, but that's okay. Better late than never. Okay. Edit. Okie doke. Whew. Okay. And then, all right. So, updates. I new headphones, so it's no longer taped and weird, and then it's really comfy now. So that's actually really nice. And I can't hear anything else outside, so I'm really locked in, like permanently. You know, it's perfect. And then today I have 4 videos I want to watch. So it's going to be Disturbing Internet Mysteries by Chilling Scares. 2 days ago, so kind of recent. Here's another one I debated on using. That's also new. So we're gonna have a Chilling Scares day of some sort. And then, well, I guess today's slightly that day. 5 most disturbing corners of the internet, Chilling Scares. That's also kind of recent. I guess I did pick that one. And then YouTube's darkest search term by Night Fair. Oh, and then lastly, The Abyssal Detective. I just grabbed a thumbnail, so put that back. And then The Most Disturbing Warning Signs Iceberg, Volume 2. Pretty reliable stuff today, so I'm not going to get upset with a bizarre bub situation, which is nice. Little relieving from the last stream, because that was torture. But anyway, first video going to be Disturbing Internet Mysteries by Chilling Scares.
Post, a user named Kaike around mid-2020 beneath a Pink Floyd Instagram post, a user named Kaike Limar22 left a comment that most people probably would have dismissed as a bot spam post and scrolled past without thinking much of it. It read, "Help me. I'm an artist. I'm in trouble. I discovered a cannibalism restaurant here in Brazil. Now there's an agency of espionage torturing me. My parents were kidnapped. Can you save me? Please, I'm suffering."
Bro, there is no way he didn't post this on like 100 different posts. Like, why specifically a Pink Floyd post? Like, there's not even an actual Pink Floyd post. Okay. So no, I would think that's just fake too. Can you save me, please? I'm suffering.
I discovered a cannibalism restaurant here in Brazil. Now there's an
okay.
Legal name, contact number, complete address.
Oh, a whole field of stuff to say? No, absolutely not.
And the location of the said cannibalism restaurant, along with its email and a link to its website. On its own, something like this would be easy to dismiss as a troll or a cheap stunt to grab people's attention. But when other users visited the profile, the situation became a lot harder to brush off. His account was filled with nearly identical posts, all repeating the
Dude, exactly what I said. Yeah, he's gonna post that everywhere.
Same accusation and begging strangers to help him before it was too late. And in some of them, he even uploaded legal documents belonging to himself and his parents as a desperate attempt to prove that the people in the story were real. From there, the trail spread beyond Instagram. His Facebook account and X profile were filled with the same desperate pleas going back as far as 2018.
Wow.
And according to people who had been
Dedication.
following his situation, he had also been directly messaging strangers with the same request for help for almost 2 years. Eventually, some users also found an art account connected to him, where he often posted dark and disturbing drawings with captions that used phrases like "destroy fascism" and "socialism is fascism," along with frequent references to the same cannibal restaurant. Because of this, one of the first theories many people landed on was that the entire thing was an ARG attempt gone too far. An ARG, or alternate reality game, is basically a fictional story told through real-world platforms, where creators use social media accounts and online profiles as pieces of the narrative. So, from this angle, Kaike's post could be read as a horror project.
Bro, but for 2 years doing that straight for you gotta be like making money or something from that, or be passionate about it. Like, what is he really doing?
That began with his art and then slowly expanded into something much harder to separate
It's
from
got nothing to
reality.
do with art.
But that theory had one major problem. If this was a performance, it was an incredibly strange one. There was no clear puzzle to solve and no satisfying reveal waiting at the end. Instead, it was just Kaike repeating the same accusation with a level of commitment that made it feel like something he genuinely believed was happening to him. And that left one uncomfortable possibility open. What if he wasn't trying to create a horror story at all? What if he actually believed every word of it? As strange as the phrase cannibalism restaurant sounds, the idea isn't completely unheard of in Brazil. Because just 8 years earlier in 2012, 3 people were arrested in Garanhuns,
I think I heard about something like that, like serving human meat.
in the Brazilian state of Pernambuco, after the police
Yeah,
accused
like a
them
nice
of
old
murdering at
lady.
least 2 women, consuming parts of their bodies, and using the rest to make stuffed meat pies that were sold to unsuspecting customers. And what made this case even more
Bro, I feel like eating yourself is a whole different thing than just cannibal. Like, I think that's a whole nother level of gross. Like, that's further than cannibalism. Like, self-cannibalism?
disturbing was how ordinary the operation looked from the outside. According to the police, the pies were sold even to schools and hospitals. Now, on its own, this case had no apparent connection to Kaike's story, but it did make Kaike's claim feel slightly less impossible than it first sounded. The problem was that beyond the accusation itself, he never provided anything that actually proved what he was saying. And when people tried to approach him directly for more information, his answers didn't make the story any clearer. For instance, when a Reddit user DM'd him and asked about the supposed espionage, all he got back were fragmented responses like, "They're torturing me, it's an evil organization, it's because they're evil." He sounded terrified, but every attempt to get a clear explanation out
It's because they're evil? Yeah, I would immediately drop it. I'd be like, hey, he's not actually, like, he'd be telling you, like, actionable information.
of him circled back to the same handful of words. And that's what made the website link he had been attaching to his public posts and comments this whole time so important. Out of everything he flooded the internet with, it was the one piece of information that could actually be checked. But when users followed the link, it led to the website of a hospice and rehabilitation center. When entered into Google Maps, it takes you to a medical facility called Baramed Support House.
Well, see, then it could just be something he had a bad experience with, and now he's just trying to get the place shut down.
The building itself looked completely ordinary. Nothing about it pointed toward the kind of horror Kaike was describing. Even the Google reviews described it like any other care facility, with patients and families praising the staff for their attention and
that's what I'm
support.
thinking. He probably
And
felt
these
wrong.
details changed the entire shape of the mystery. Maybe Kaike wasn't exactly lying. Perhaps he had been a patient in this medical center at some point, and because of some kind of severe paranoid psychosis, he had come to believe that the doctors and caregivers around him were not treating people, but harming them. It would explain why his story never produced any solid evidence, while also explaining why he seemed so genuinely terrified every time he repeated it. But as believable as this theory sounds, it has one major problem. Nowhere on Baramed's website did it describe itself as a psychiatric facility or somewhere that treats severe psychological disorders. Their
Isn't that what he just said, though?
service seems to be directed mainly toward elderly patients. This makes it less likely for Kaike to be a patient at this medical center. But after spending more time with the details of this case, I started to notice something that I haven't seen anyone else point out. Kaike's posts always mention 2 things together: the cannibalism restaurant and the claim that his parents had been kidnapped. And in some of his most desperate uploads, he
Bro, I kind of overlooked that part, the parents were kidnapped part, just because the cannibalism restaurant part is so dramatic.
some restaurant and the
the
claim that his
torture.
issued identity card as proof that she was a real person. At first, that seems like a strange thing to prove. Nobody was questioning whether his
Yeah,
mother
exactly.
existed. But Baramed is a continuing care facility. It's the kind of place where families admit elderly relatives for long-term treatment. And if Kaike's parents had been placed there by other family members and he didn't understand or didn't
Yeah,
accept that
exactly.
decision, then everything about his story starts to look different. In his mind, his parents hadn't been admitted for medical care, they had been taken against their will, and the people looking after them weren't doctors, but something far worse. It would explain why he posted the same address hundreds of times and couldn't give a clear answer when people reached out to him. And it would explain posting his mother's identity card for the world to see. He believed someone had taken her and no one around him was doing anything about it.
Dude, I think that's even worse though, that he actually thinks that this is real, like it's actually happening to him and it's not an ARG. That's actually more disturbing.
Either way, both theories still rely on the same foundation, that Kaike was mentally ill and that his paranoia had gotten severe enough to twist a normal care facility into something horrifying inside his own head.
Dude,
unfortunately, there is no way to confirm any of this, because at some point after the story started gaining attention online, all of Kaike's accounts went dark. It's possible that the people around him or someone who knew him eventually stepped in and got him the help he needed. But until Kaike himself resurfaces or someone who knew him comes forward with an answer, this is where the case stays.
Wow, now that's probably going to be it though. It seems like he stopped posting as of recently. Like that was 2 year span, but now he's done with that. I mean, at least there was no update. But that is pretty intense.
On April
just to be so deluded and not let any, like, someone's probably had tried to reach out and help him, but like help him understand.
1st, 2009, a YouTube channel named Bobby Joe Blythe 007 uploaded a strange video titled Jesus Taught Me. It was old, blurry footage that was clearly transferred from a VHS tape and recorded in an entirely different era.
Was taken on 13 December 1984,
Looks
about
like
7 p.m.
At first, it didn't get much attention and sat on the channel with almost no views for weeks. But when it finally caught the attention of viewers on martial arts forums, it quickly became one of the most disturbing pieces of footage to ever surface on the internet. The video opened inside a small karate dojo in Dumfries, Virginia, where a thin, soft-spoken man had apparently walked in off the street and told the people inside that he'd been trained in martial arts by Jesus Christ himself.
Oh, wow. That's quite a claim, buddy. I mean, does that mean you're good at it, though?
This guy,
He wasn't much of a karate guy, was he?
like I say, he's a priest. He's a 10th degree red belt. And who'd you say promoted you to 10th degree red belt? Jesus did. Okay.
Now, a
He's just riding with it, though?
claim like that obviously suggested the man may not have been in a normal state of mind, but he never came across as aggressive. In fact, he was even clear that he didn't want to hurt anyone and that he only intended to demonstrate what he had learned.
I won't brag or anything of that nature, but I can demonstrate.
Okay, demonstrate on him.
Well, I won't demonstrate on him. I will demonstrate around him.
The other two men in the frame were the owner of the dojo and one of his
I don't know if you really cleared anything up there, buddy, about him instead. That doesn't really...
students. Both were Marines. And once the man finished explaining himself, the owner told the student to face him. Despite the man repeatedly making it clear that he only wanted to demonstrate, the interaction turned violent almost immediately. And even as he tried to back away, the student continued attacking him while the owner watched and let it happen.
Whoa. Oh, so they're beating this guy up. Why?
Don't do that anymore.
Oh, is it because he clearly doesn't know what he's doing?
No, just don't do that. That. Good. I'm not a fighter.
The situation continued to escalate until the man was badly hurt and lying almost unresponsive on the floor, while the owner told the others to drag him out. The video then cut to the camera focusing on the floor, where a trail of blood led toward the exit of the dojo. And, according to the description beneath the video, the man was later found by police officers inside a dumpster behind the building, strongly insinuating that he had been killed. But neither the footage nor the description made it entirely clear whether the man had actually survived what had happened to him or not. And that was what horrified everyone who came across the video. So once martial arts forums got a hold of the clip, it spread fast, and people started trying to figure out where it had come from. The first major clue was the username of the channel itself, which led viewers directly to Bobby Joe Blythe, a former...
Well, it's your goddamn name, buddy. You should be doing nefarious things when you got your name plastered out there like that.
U.S. Marine, and the same man who appeared to be giving orders in the video. As for the dojo, it had been a storefront in a shopping center in Dumfries, Virginia. By the time the video appeared online, the place had already been shut down for years. These details only made the entire situation more difficult.
So it's just, they never got around to it? Like, how did they miss that?
It had been a storefront in a shopping center in Dumfries, Virginia. By the time the video appeared online, the place had already been shut down for years. These
Gotcha.
details only made the entire situation
Oh, dude, I'm a dumbass. It's because it was like 1984. Like, people weren't just posting everything they were recording. They weren't even recording anything.
more difficult to explain.
Well, they were,
because if this footage actually showed a brutal assault, then why would Bobby be the one to upload it to YouTube decades later? Maybe, in his mind, what happened in that room wasn't a crime at all. When viewers went through the rest of his channel, the videos gave a much clearer sense of the kind of authority he believed in.
We don't tolerate this. Nobody in our domain. We, black belts, this is our place. We can do what we want anytime we feel like it. And feel free as anybody could be in this world, in this place. And in your place, this is yours.
This is how I feel like the police debriefs every morning goes. So they just hype them up to be like overly aggressive.
This is your go-to. No one treads on your territory. We can do anything we want. Just school can. So we're liberal. If they come through that door, it's open season.
Wow, dude, he really walked into the wrong place then. That is so unfortunate.
And if this was the kind of violent culture Bobby had built inside his dojo, it would explain how a badly wounded man could be dragged out the back door without anyone in the room treating it like something that needed to be reported. Naturally, viewers began contacting local authorities and sending them the footage, believing they had uncovered evidence of a crime that had somehow gone unnoticed for decades. But just days later, Captain Ronald Mackey of the Dumfries Police Department released a statement that seemed to shut the entire mystery down. According to him, the victim had survived the attack and had been interviewed by police after the incident. On paper, that should have
But where is he? Did he die? Is he living?
been the end of it. Except the explanation started falling apart as soon as more details came out. Another official who was a retired police detective named Chuck Feldbush also claimed the man survived, but his account made the investigation sound far less thorough than the department's statement implied. Officer Chuck said he personally knew both Bobby and the victim, describing the man as a homeless guy who lived in the woods near the dojo. In his own words, "You could tell he had been beaten severely, but he wasn't very cooperative."
Bro, I mean, why didn't you even make up something a little bit better? Like, you got your black belt from Jesus? Like, that's kind of insane, bro. Like, you can't think of a more compelling lie?
And didn't want to pursue charges. But if that was the entire basis for closing the matter, it also meant that the police never really conducted a proper inquiry into what happened inside that dojo. More importantly, it made the official claim that the victim survived almost impossible to verify. Because even if the attack didn't kill him immediately, it's still possible that a severely beaten, mentally unstable homeless man could have easily died days later from untreated injuries without anyone noticing. And since none of the officers involved could even remember his name,
Yeah, but they're just gonna write it off because he's homeless, and that's the unfortunate part.
there is no way to trace where he went after that. Searching for hospital
Exactly.
records and missing person reports from the area doesn't bring up any matches. And with no more leads to follow, people online started looking deeper into Bobby's background instead. According to several sources, Bobby's dojo may have attracted more than ordinary martial arts students. His background as a former Marine reportedly brought in
geez.
bodyguards, other Marines, and possibly even
Yeah, you can kind of tell just with the way he goes about it that he's like Marine intense. You
local
know?
police officers.
It's just
If
a
that's
lot for
true,
some
it could
people.
explain two things at once. Why the response from the local authorities felt so strangely muted, and why Bobby felt confident
That made it sound like I think he's right about doing that. He's definitely not.
enough to post the video publicly in the first place. And if both of those things are true, they point to a simple but uncomfortable possibility. That the case didn't go anywhere because the people responsible for investigating it were too close to the people involved. But that is where the facts end and speculation begins. There is no direct evidence proving that local officials deliberately buried this, and
No, but especially back then, bro, they weren't even wearing body cams or nothing. Like, we were just going off people's words, so we don't actually know any of that stuff. And then that's why when the DNA came out, all that stuff got like reversed and stuff. People got like convicted and everything, you know? So they're not right all the time. A lot of time they aren't right because they don't have the info. And they don't even wait to get it. They just kind of rush the situation.
nothing about the case directly indicates that Bobby was protected. That said, without the victim ever being clearly identified, it's impossible to prove or disprove any of these theories. Which is also why, despite thousands of people online trying to dig through the footage from every possible angle, there has been no meaningful development to the case over the 2 decades since the footage first
I kind of want to see the video, but I don't know if I should do that to myself.
surfaced, leaving the entire mystery trapped between two possibilities. Either the unnamed victim survived one of the most brutal assaults ever posted to YouTube, then vanished back into a life where no one could find him, or
the way he's talking it up makes me feel like I kind of have to at least look for it, you know? What was his name, bro? J something something. God damn it. Was it that one? No. God damn. Now I'm gonna be all over with it. Bobby Joe Bly. That's what it was. Bro, it has Joe in the name. I should be able to remember that, you know? On TikTok? I don't know if that would even. Bro, I need water. I'm like, I'm so dying right now. Hold up. Oh, man. That was crazy. It was like, oh, wait, why is it? Oh, it was like echoing. Oh, I can like think now. My mouth was so dry that my eyes were starting to water. I didn't even know that was a thing. All right, where was I at? Oh, I was trying to find the video. Hold up. I can't find it though. It's not on here at all. Oh, no. There it is. I'm just gonna skim through it. I don't want to watch the whole thing because I'm not gonna show it on here.
You're good. Huh? You're good. Oh.
Oh.
Don't grab it tight, man. That's it.
Okay, yeah, no, they're just fighting. Oh. Wow. No, that was so much worse than I could have thought. Oh, boy. Don't go looking for that video. Oh, man.
didn't want to.
And they said that was like he was fine? They saw the video and they were like, yeah, no, that's okay.
Once. Why the
Dude, holy shit. He could have shown like some of it and like blurred it out, you know?
That's between two possibilities. Either the unnamed victim survived one of the
Okay, yeah, no, that was pretty much where we were at, I think.
that belonged to his supervisor, Cody Erickson,
Oh,
16.
we're going on to the next one, I guess.
On June 6th,
Oh man, no, that's crazy. No, that video is like intense. That is incredibly disturbing. I see why he barely showed any of it there.
16th, 2016, a security guard in Utah picked up something on an old AM radio that would go on to be one of the creepiest pieces of audio in recent internet history. The guard's name was Cody Erickson, and at the time he had been working a swing shift at a bank management building somewhere in Utah. Inside the security office was an old AM/FM radio that belonged to his supervisor. And since Cody had already finished his tasks for the night and was just waiting for the next guard to come in, he started turning through the AM stations to pass the time. Most of what came through was
Are we sure about that? That sounds kind of like sketchy.
exactly what you'd expect from an old radio late at night. But then, somewhere between a sports station on one side and an old music station on the other, Cody heard a woman crying. He tried adjusting the dial multiple times, hoping to pull the signal in more clearly.
There's not much you can do
But
about
each
that.
time he moved it, the broadcast either faded into static or got buried underneath one of the nearby stations.
Oh, what up, Zip Zap?
Still,
Zach,
what
zip,
little came
zap?
through was disturbing
I saw your comment earlier, so I remember your name.
enough that he pulled out his phone and started recording. In the audio, the woman sounded like she was pleading with someone to leave her alone, and at one point, she mentioned 2 children.
Bro, this is like that movie Cellular, though, like the plot of that movie, but it just doesn't, Like, what can you do about it, though? Yes, it's gonna be scary audio. Bro, they could be talking about any...
The signal continued wavering in and out throughout the recording, with her voice rising and disappearing beneath the noise.
Okay, no, this is sounding more ominous as we go. How is it on
And
the
then,
radio?
right at
though?
the end, the static cleared just long enough for another voice to come through and say something that nobody has ever been able to agree on. To most people who heard it, the words sounded like, "rip her apart."
No, I don't think so. I think we're kind of assuming there. Hold up.
After this, the broadcast cut
I
out.
don't know. Something like the part is the last part. I agree.
After this, the broadcast cut out completely. Cody later checked that same stretch of the dial twice a night over the following days, hoping to hear it again, but the voice never returned. So, left with a recording he couldn't explain, he uploaded it to YouTube, hoping someone online might be able to figure out
Bro,
where
it's unlisted. How did you find it?
it come from. The first, and probably the most comforting theory that the internet came up with, was that the recording was just a scripted performance. The reason is that AM radio isn't as predictable as FM. Depending on where you are,
Dude, that would actually be a really good... Like, that's what I initially said that was weird. Like, his post about the radio and the times like that, I was like, nah, something sounds weird. But, no, I mean, yeah, he was getting it right with the sound, so I kind of couldn't get him there. So, I really was buying into it, but...
and how late you're listening, the dial can pick up all sorts of broadcasts, including old horror dramas and detective shows. So, according
Do
to
we
this
know
theory,
what it
Cody
is?
could have simply tuned into the middle of a fictional scene, and the crying woman was just an actress, while the distorted signal made the performance sound a little too real. Some other users also suggested that it could have been a drive-in movie theater leaking its audio into the radio. For those who don't know,
Ooh, oh my god, that's actually maybe like the best explanation for that. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
suggested that it could have been a drive-in movie theater leaking its audio into the radio. For
On AM though, do they have you? They do, right? Do they have you tune into AM?
those who don't know, outdoor theaters often transmit film audio over short-range radio so viewers can listen through their car speakers, and that signal can occasionally bleed onto nearby frequencies, which would mean what Cody heard was nothing more than the climax of some horror film leaking out of a transmitter
all
somewhere down the
different.
road. But while both of those explanations make sense on the surface, they run into two problems. First, over the years, no one has been able to identify any piece of media, including audiobooks, films, radio shows, and horror dramas that cleanly
Okay.
matches the phrases heard in the broadcast. And second, most modern drive-in theaters tell customers to tune into an FM frequency.
I thought, bro, I knew he was gonna. I knew he was gonna go. I was gonna Google it too because I was like, I think I'm right. I think they don't use AM. But what was the other part he said? That you could, like he said, as an actor, like you wouldn't have to have it be pre-recorded and posted elsewhere if this was your whole skit, you know?
Not the AM band Cody was listening on. So while a movie or radio drama is probably the easiest explanation to accept, it still doesn't account for why the source has never been identified. But probably the biggest reason people struggle to believe the performance theory was that the crying didn't sound staged. It didn't have the rhythm of an actor waiting for a line, or the clean emotional arc of a scene written to
But
build
that would be a
tension.
good
It sounded
actor,
broken
bro.
and uneven, like someone who is struggling to hold themselves together. And this led one Reddit user to suggest a very different theory. According to them, the recording may have come from a call-in radio show, possibly one where distressed callers reached out to a church or counselor for help, and the woman might have been crying while describing something terrible that had happened to her in the past. This would also explain how the final line might have been misheard. Instead of "rip her apart," the voice might have actually said 4 years apart, which would fit much more naturally into a
Bro, I knew it was a part. I guess it would depend how you like pronounce it, really. Like rip her apart or rip her apart, you know? Just like kind of together.
Conversation about grief or family trauma. But without the name of the original program, there's no way to verify this theory either, leaving the mystery exactly where it started.
I mean, that one sounds kind of outlandish, but because I don't, do they have public radio stations that are for trauma lines or whatever? Or that doesn't even make sense. You would want it to be private. So I don't know. I think it makes the most sense that this is just something that somebody made as a project altogether, and that's why you can't find another copy of it. You know, like they just were very thoughtful in the making of it. Because bro, I initially said, bro, like the post was weird, like something about it was kind of off. I just didn't know exactly what it was. I just want to see the post again. Yeah, like he's like fiddling with the radio like randomly. Belongs to my supervisor, listens to talk shows during his daytime shift. And then you got the date down, like, it just seems a little weird. Was killing time before I got off work. So you're just like neglecting your job, playing with this radio on AM stations? Like, I don't know. It just sounds weird. I don't buy it.
Bleed on.
I don't buy anything though, so, you know.
Distress call fit much started. Could have been a leaked signal from a baby monitor nearby.
Okay, now we're just reaching though. That seems like a little.
Older baby monitors and wireless security cameras are known to transmit on frequencies that nearby receivers can accidentally pick up. And while that alone doesn't explain every technical detail of Cody's recording, there are real cases where this exact kind of stray signal ended up exposing something deeply disturbing happening inside a private home. For instance, in February 2004, a man in Milwaukee installed...
We never will know, dude, because there's so many like he's saying, dude, there's so many possibilities, but there's no way we would be able to tell. Unless this guy came out and was like, yeah, I faked it, or something.
A wireless security camera in his home, but while he was flipping between his own cameras, his receiver accidentally picked up a signal from someone else's house.
What?
On the screen, he could see two young girls standing with their arms raised above their heads while a woman in the room appeared to be hitting them. When the man contacted law enforcement, police confirmed that his receiver was likely picking up a cross signal from another camera within a radius of about 75 to 150 feet. Similarly, in another case from the Czech Republic in 2007, a father was watching his own baby through a video monitor when the device suddenly picked up a stray signal from another home nearby. It showed a young boy tied up on the bare floor of a room. After the father reported what he saw, police traced the signal to a
Is it real though? Are they seeing like playback footage or like real camera footage?
house in the neighborhood where the child was found bound with duct
my
tape,
God.
severely dehydrated, and being watched over by a
That shit's
video
real.
camera. So, with cases like these on record, the idea that Cody's radio caught a stray feed from a monitor or a camera somewhere nearby isn't easy to dismiss. And if that's what happened, then what he was listening to may have been an act of domestic violence, or something much worse, playing out in real time. Unfortunately, without the original broadcast ever being identified,
Well, that's crazy because I thought it was like a fake depiction of what would happen in like a movie, like only in a movie. But those cases sound like a movie.
the mystery can't move past speculation.
Holy shit.
All we really have is a short 2-minute recording of an old radio in a quiet security office. And unless that source is ever found, we may never know whether Cody captured a piece of fiction or something far more
Bro, and then this is like you don't even seem you wouldn't know immediately that you're looking at like AM
real that was never meant to
FM,
be heard.
right? Like it's you don't even see that. If this is the video, so maybe he was fucking with it, and you know, like that. Maybe it is real.
On May
Wow.
1st, 19...
Dude, that's what Chilling Scare is so good, dude. He gets like he digs down in it, you know. I feel like all the other ones, like the scary videos and shit, they just like, oh well, it could be real. I don't know.
95.
It's I don't understand it.
A University of Arizona student named Brian Hance was flipping through the campus newspaper, the Arizona Daily Wildcat, when a strange full-page message on page 16 caught his attention. The page was filled with mathematical symbols, scientific notations, and historical references, including an image of Martin Luther surrounded by formulas and cryptic diagrams. At the top, it carried a simple title, May Day 1995. At first, Brian didn't think much of it, assuming it was either an invitation
I would flip right past that. That looks like a bunch of noise.
to some college fraternity or some secret club. But this assumption would be proven wrong over the next 2 years, because every year a new version of the same kind of message appeared in the paper. The pages blended mathematics, maps, biblical passages, historical figures, scientific diagrams, and fragments written in
And
Latin,
that's before ChatGPT, so this dude really had like a madness episode.
Greek, Hebrew, German, and other languages. Some even included musical notation or hand-drawn illustrations. Others referenced philosophers, theologians, and pivotal moments in history. By 1997, Brian was working as the web administrator for the Arizona Daily Wildcat, which gave him access to the paper's entire archive. So he spent days digging through decades of old issues, and what he found unsettled him on two fronts. First, these cryptic pages weren't new. He found similar messages stretching back years, eventually tracing the mystery back to the early 1980s. Second, despite appearing in the newspaper for years, no one at the Daily Wildcat seemed to know who was behind them. The ads were simply
The people that are working, it seems like they have too much time while they're working. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, going on entire investigations, like they're on work time.
delivered through a lawyer, leaving the real
crazy.
author completely anonymous. So, to keep track of everything, Brian created MaydayMystery.org and began archiving every page he could find, hoping that if enough people looked at them together, someone might finally crack what they meant.
A couple years ago, my walkie-talkie picked up on some frequency. Some voices were coming through. I'd turn the thing off and on. I would just ignore that shit. I'd be like, "Yep, no, we're gonna pretend that never happened."
Digging through the
It needs to get like paranormally insane in here for me to be like, "Okay, let's deal with that."
website, you'll find that although every issue brought a different looking puzzle, some elements kept repeating. The first and most obvious was the hand-drawn smiley face,
signature.
which over the years had become something like a signature or logo for the person or people behind the mystery.
It looks like a cartoon. It looks like Doug, but with huge ears.
A small, smirking man with two dots for eyes and a sly grin tucked into the corner of page after page. On top of this, Martin Luther also appeared repeatedly, either directly or through references. And so did one particular word, leitmotif. It's a German word that means recurring theme, which is interesting because recurring themes are exactly what these advertisements seem to rely on. At first glance, it's easy to dismiss the archive as the work of a schizophrenic, a theory that has been debated for years on the internet. But after combing through dozens of them, there are two reasons why I don't think that theory holds up. For one, the advertisements are incredibly detailed.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, how would you even get to the bottom of this? How are you going to tell me what this means? Like, I would have no idea.
They pull together mathematics, history, religion, science, multiple languages,
cool.
maps, and recurring symbols in ways that stay surprisingly consistent over decades. Then there's the money. By 1997 alone, dozens of Mayday advertisements have already been published, and new ones have continued appearing almost every year since the
over
early
years.
1980s, with smaller updates being released in between. A full-page ad in the Wildcat can cost hundreds of dollars each time, which suggests that whoever was behind them had both the financial resources and a long-term commitment to the project. For years, the identity of the people behind these advertisements remained a complete mystery, until Brian finally found the first real lead. It wasn't the anonymous author, but the man who had been submitting the advertisements to the newspaper for years, a Tucson attorney named Robert Truman
He's like, bro, this is not going anywhere. I need to, like, find a new strategy.
Hungerford. Brian first learned about Robert after unexpectedly receiving an email from him. Robert confirmed that he acted as the legal representative for the people behind the advertisements. Yet, despite acting as the middleman, he consistently refused to reveal who his clients actually were. And from that
He's kind of got a duty not to do that, though. I mean, he's trying to protect them.
point on, Brian's investigation became part of the mystery itself. He began receiving carefully scripted phone calls, cryptic mail, and packages postmarked from Las Vegas and routed through Pakistan, some containing foreign stamps and Middle Eastern coins. After he fell behind on website updates because he was sick, he even received a get well card. None of these messages were openly threatening, but they made one thing clear. Whoever was behind the Mayday mystery knew exactly who Brian was, and they were paying attention to his investigation. And this naturally shifted all the focus towards Robert, because he wasn't a random attorney. He had studied at the University of Arizona, earned a doctorate in theology, became a member of Mensa, the highest IQ society in the world, and reportedly spoke several languages, including Dutch, German, Greek, Hebrew, Latin, Russian,
How does anybody even get into that at all? How is there like a group of people that are like that?
Spanish. So when you compare his background to the advertisements with their theological references, historical figures, and multilingual
That's what I'm
fragments,
saying. This is just too smart for me, dude. I just can't even understand it.
it becomes easy to understand why people began to suspect he was more than just the lawyer. There's one more detail that makes the connection a lot stronger.
I
If you
call
pull up
that,
Robert's
dude.
old University of Arizona yearbook photo, he appears to have close cropped hair, the eyebrows running almost straight across, and a faint smile, all of which looks exactly like the little
It kind of does look like him, huh?
smirking man at the bottom of pages. However, he has repeatedly denied being the sole creator. Instead, he claims he was representing an organization known as the Orphanage. In interviews over the years, he described Mayday Mystery as a work of art, while also suggesting there was a real society behind it who dealt with future events. He also insisted that
Oh, what
everything
does
needed
it
to understand the mystery is already publicly available on Brian's website, encouraging people to pay particular attention to its theological themes. But if the orphanage is real, no one has been able to prove who they are. Over the years, theories have ranged from a political activist group with roots in the Vietnam War era, to an alternate reality game, to a massive work of conceptual art designed to reward only the most obsessive investigators.
Oh, that's what we still don't know. It's just a puzzle.
Yet, none of these theories explain every piece of the mystery. And it's not because people haven't tried over the decades.
There's not
One young
enough.
woman once drove from Phoenix to meet Brian at a cafe in downtown Tucson, carrying a thick binder of research. She believed the Mayday mystery was connected to the Zodiac killer, comparing symbols from the ad with ciphers and envelopes linked to the case.
Oh, nah, this lady's the ultimate got too much time on her hands subject.
Brian heard her out, but told her he didn't think that was it. And before she left, she told him she had already sent everything to the FBI. But not every theory was that far-reaching. One of the most interesting clues came from an anonymous contributor on Brian's website who used the name Near a Terminal. Unlike most people, this person seemed to understand how at least part of the puzzle worked. For one of the earlier ads from the 1980s, the person pointed out that if you counted the brushstrokes in the Chinese characters, you got 24, and if you counted the letters in the English word above them, Richmond, you got 8. Put them together and you get 8/24, or August 24th.
It's getting all numbery, dude. I'm gonna have to go back. When I was in elementary school in the afternoon on the bus, I saw some guy taking 2 kids into his house and told my mom, but she didn't believe me. And then, oh, dude, that's horrible. That's terrible. You're probably one of the last people to see them. Wow, that's awful. Parents should start believing their kids. Absolutely, dude. I mean, the horror movies have taught me that, if anything. Like, how often parents just don't be believing the simple, most logical explanations. I don't know, just old head syndrome. Think they just know everything.
And sure enough, the next ad in the series had appeared on August 24th. However, it remains as one of the only times anyone has ever produced
This
a
is
clean,
just so confusing because there's no resolution.
verifiable decode of any part of the mystery. Brian became convinced that Near a Terminal was somehow connected to the orphanage. However, even that breakthrough only cracked one tiny piece of one ad out of hundreds. And that is
Pimp email 34. The pimp says Merry Christmas. Okay. The pimp says new ad coming tomorrow. The pimp returns. I don't even know what this is, dude.
that breakthrough only cracked one tiny piece of one ad out of
Pimp email 144. Is pimp mean something else?
hundreds. And that is what makes the Mayday mystery so unsettling. Every time one part begins to make sense, the larger picture becomes even harder to see. On one occasion, Robert claimed that the mystery went back even further than the newspaper ads. According to him, the first message existed long before 1981, but in a different medium. He refused to say what that medium was, only explaining that the earlier messages were designed so that someone would have to be inside the group to even recognize them. Which means
you think you would keep it that way, though.
Brian's site may not even contain the complete archive of these puzzles. Nonetheless, for nearly 3 decades, Brian preserved the ads, letters, and any clues connected to the mystery. But even after all this, he never came even close to understanding what the messages actually meant. After more than 40 years, countless investigators and
I don't think you're meant to solve it. I think it's meant to make you think you can, and then you never get anywhere.
hundreds of theories, the Mayday mystery remains unsolved.
I mean, that's pretty intense. That's like the most high IQ puzzle ever made, or they're lying. But it seems kind of legit though.
On September 12, 2000,
Wow, no, that one's crazy. Actually, I actually really like that one.
2008.
It was really confusing. I felt on the outs of it, but
On September 12, 2008, a 49-year-old Delta Airlines employee named Charles Peck was on his way to Los Angeles for a job interview. The interview was at Van Nuys Airport, and if he got the job, it would finally allow him to move to California and marry his fiancée, Andrea Katz, who had been waiting for him in Westlake Village. But unfortunately, he never managed to reach the station. Instead, he became part of a tragedy whose mystery remains unresolved to this day. At around 4:22 that afternoon, the Metrolink train he was riding collided head-on with a Union Pacific freight train near Chatsworth, California. It was later found that the Metrolink engineer had run
This one, 4 more minutes on this one.
the red signal because he was distracted by his phone, texting just seconds before the impact,
What up, chicken?
which led to 25 people losing their lives, and Charles was one of them. While that was tragic on its own, what happened afterwards is the reason Charles Peck's story would continue circulating online years after the disaster.
Bro, is this the one? I think Nick Crowley did a video on this, no?
Andrea was driving to pick him up from the Moore Park station when she heard the news of the crash on the radio. She rushed to the scene, and Charles's
Yeah, dude, this one, yeah.
family soon joined her, hoping he still might be somewhere inside the wreckage. And then, a few hours after the collision, they got their first sign of hope. Charles's son received a call.
Yeah,
It was from his father's phone. Over the course of that night, Charles's phone reportedly called his son, his brother, his sister, his stepmother, and Andrea. In total, his family received around 35 calls from his number. But every single time they answered, there was nothing on the other end. Just silence or a wash of static before the line went dead seconds later. And because rescuers were still searching through the scene, the calls gave the family hope that Charles was still alive, just trapped somewhere in the wreckage. But roughly an hour after the last call, rescuers finally located Charles's body deep inside the first train after tracing him using the signal from his phone.
Bro, and I'm pretty sure the phone was nowhere near his body at all.
According to the reports given to his family, he had likely died on impact before any of the calls were ever made. However, one detail didn't add up. Rescuers were never able to find his phone anywhere near his body. Now, for a lot of people online, there was only one way to explain that. They claimed Charles was somehow trying to reach his family from the afterlife.
Yo, what do you mean that's the one? I thought we were gonna go another direction here. The one way to explain that, I feel like, is the guy was somebody else came across his body, grabbed his phone, and tried to use it to like save themselves. And maybe they're alive, maybe not, but they realized, oh, I can't just call the family. You know, that's all the people in his contacts. Dude's a loner. I mean, that kind of makes a little bit more sense than an astral afterlife dimension.
But as comforting as that idea may sound,
Crazy.
even Charles's fiancée admitted it was something she held on to emotionally, not something she could actually defend. So if we set the afterlife theory aside, we're left with a much harder question. How does a deceased man's phone make 35 calls on its own? The most obvious explanation is a phone malfunction. The incident happened back in 2008 when phones still had physical buttons. So if the device was crushed inside the wreckage, it's possible that pressure, moisture, or damaged circuitry caused it to repeatedly dial numbers from Charles's recent calls or saved
I
contact.
mean, that seems kind of outlandish too, though. That don't even seem
And
plausible.
at first, this theory seems to answer two of the hardest questions at once. It explains how the calls came from Charles's number
It's
even though he died on impact, and why nobody could hear anything on the other end. The reason the phone calls eventually stopped could simply be because the phone ran out of battery after switching through the phone book all night long. But the moment you look closely, this theory falls apart on one single detail. A damaged phone firing off signals at random isn't selective about who it calls. It would have hit coworkers,
No, but main thing, dude, they would have found the phone. Like, what do you mean? They just never found the phone. It's a problem.
voicemail, or wrong numbers. Instead, every
And we're not
single
gonna
one
track the phone after the fact. Like, how do we?
of those 35 calls went to a close family member, and not one rang a random contact, which pushes us toward a second, more disturbing theory. Maybe a survivor trapped inside the same wreckage, too injured to speak, found Charles's phone and scrolled through the recent
That's what I'm
calls,
talking
hitting
about.
one number after another, hoping
we
someone
go.
would trace it back. But this still leaves two major questions unanswered. First, if
What's
a conscious
that?
person were calling for rescue, why dial the same 5 relatives 35 times and never once call 911? And if someone else
Bro, I mean, you could say he was really. You said, bro, he was really, really injured, right? So if he's just like fading out, bro can only hit call, or call, scroll, call. Like, you're only calling the recents, and then it would make even more sense that you're only calling family members. So, not a problem. Debunked.
was using the phone, why was Charles's body the one found after rescuers traced the signal, and to no phone at all? None of these questions disprove the
What do you mean, bro? You tracked to his last location. That doesn't. Maybe the phone stopped giving out signal at some point when it was like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean it was pinging right from his body the whole time, and now you can't find the phone? So at some point, someone came and took the phone. That's still my same theory.
theory, but they do keep it from being a complete answer. There's also a less charitable version of that same idea. Instead of a survivor, maybe someone passing by the wreckage picked up Charles's phone from the debris and started calling his family as a
Same
sick,
kinda
deliberate
thing.
prank. And out of every theory so far,
Okay, I don't know about a sick deliberate prank though. That kind of seems outlandish. 35 times is too much times for a prank.
this is the only one that fully accounts for the missing phone. Somebody took it with them. But it doesn't explain the fact that the rescuers located
Bro, if someone just picked it up and was being goofy, it would still would have pinged off of like after the fact. You still would have been able to find where it was. If you didn't find it after the fact, you never could find the phone, then it stopped pinging at some point. Otherwise, what you would have found it. Or you didn't look good enough. Either way, it's just cops' problem.
Charles by tracing the signal from his phone directly to him. If someone really took it with them, the signal should have led rescuers somewhere else entirely.
Bro, that's what I said. I mean, we're just like front backtracking over here. What are we doing?
It's a little less far-fetched when you learn that the officials handling this case had already made at least one documented error involving Charles. In the initial victim list that was released, Charles was listed as 58 years old, nearly 9 years off his actual age.
Oh, jeez. Oh, see, okay, yeah, then it's just a police thing. Then it's not interesting, dude. It's just unfortunate, but it's not really like, ooh, scary, disturbing. It's like, oh yeah, corruption's disturbing, sure. Let's go with that. Ugh, that was kind of enraging. I didn't really, that last one? Whatever. It's fine. I got 3 more videos. Next one's probably gonna be the other Chilling Scares one. Might as well knock it out. And then YouTube's darkest search term. I think I'm most excited for that one. I think that would be a cool video to make. And then most disturbing warning signs iceberg. That one's super cool too because it's boring as the signs, dude. So I think that one will be interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna pee real quick and then I'll be right back. Okie doke. Chilling Scares. 5 most disturbing corners of the internet. Going a little Nick Crowley with the title there.
On July 7th, 2006, a user under the name Box uploaded a new location to the
Skip that ad, I guess.
website Urban Exploration Resource. The listing looked routine.
Ooh, I didn't even know that was a
New
thing.
location to the
Is that how people find these fucking weird ass places, dude?
website
I wonder if there's any near me. I've been wanting to. Well, I'm gonna save that. I'm not gonna mention that.
Urban Exploration Resource. The listing looked routine, an abandoned hotel in Atlanta. But buried in the photo gallery was a horrifying set of images that would set off one of the darkest internet mysteries that remains on.
Dude, that would make me want to go there, though. No, just because.
The listing looked routine, an
Dude, 06. Oh, it was demolished in 06, so maybe not. Worth the trip. Recommendation. And bro, they're aware of all the dangers. That's kind of wild. Dude, I respect people that really get into the hobby like this.
abandoned hotel in Atlanta. But buried in the photo gallery was a horrifying set of images that would set off one of the darkest internet mysteries that remains unsolved. Urban Exploration Resource, or UER, is an old online forum built around people documenting and discussing abandoned buildings and other forgotten urban spaces. This particular location
That water,
discussing
dude.
abandoned buildings and other
How much
forgotten
did you
urban
stick a
spaces.
cup and scoop that puppy? Ooh.
This particular location was an abandoned hotel somewhere in Atlanta, Georgia, where Box and a few friends had gone to photograph whatever had been left behind before the building was cleared out. At first, nothing about the hotel seemed unusual. It had 4 floors, rows of ordinary
Dude, it's not really demolished. I mean, that's sick.
looking rooms, and wide interior walkways that look down over a pool in the center of the building. And judging by the personal belongings still scattered throughout some of the rooms, it could not have been emptied very long ago. According to Box's own description of the location, though, the final chapter of the hotel had been anything but quiet. This hotel was built in 1972, renovated in 1993. It spent most of its life as a major chain hotel. In 2004, the hotel became independent of the major chain. The main business model after that was a long-term stay hotel. This attracted many drug dealers and other illegal business to the hotel, and it was
Oh, dude, definitely. Yeah, you can have a little trap hideout there. Eat that easy.
raided by the DEA and local authorities at least once. After many years of trouble, it closed in February 2006. But even with such a grim history, nothing about the hotel's reputation could explain what
Oh, man. Just breathing that.
Box found waiting in one of the rooms on the second floor. Attached to the location was a photo album titled Crime Scene-tastic, Not for the Faint of Heart, Fair Warning. And inside were 6 images of a stack of printed photographs that showed a middle-aged man who had almost certainly been murdered. Some of them showed him dead on the floor with blood pooled across the wood beneath him, while others showed the room where the crime took place with a bed and wall
How do people disseminate or even get crime scene photos?
both heavily marked in blood. Naturally, once other forum users saw the gallery, the first thing they wanted to know was whether Box had taken the photographs with him when he left. Because if the prints were still there, they could be turned over to authorities who could figure out where they came from. But Box said he left them exactly where he found them.
He found those and did nothing with it? I feel like that should be a crime.
According to him, there were, quote, authorized people gutting the place, and he didn't want to be seen taking anything. He
That's more than just you stealing it, bro. You just have to call it in.
also explained how the photos were too morbid, and he'd been in too much shock to even consider it. Instead, he posted a map link to the location so anyone in the area could go and retrieve the photos for themselves.
I mean, the police just don't work like that, dog.
But when one of the users visited the very next day and searched through the building, the photographs were already gone. Now, one
Or
explanation
he was lying.
could be that Box had taken the photographs from somewhere else and attached them to his post for attention.
Yeah.
One user even asked if the photos were fake snuff. But when you try reverse searching the images, they don't show up in a single other place online. If they had been taken from a movie or some well-known crime case,
This thing is not like one shot reliable though. Like, I mean, they could just miss an image that's very similar. No.
archive, you would think there must have been at least one other trace of them somewhere online, which means these prints may be documentation of a genuine crime scene, and the only surviving record of it is this one forgotten forum post from 2006. Unfortunately, nothing about the post gives any clues as to where the prints came from or why they had been left there. Considering the criminal activity at the hotel before it shut down,
Dude, some weirdos in there, dude. They would go so nicely on the wall at the bottom of your stairs. The rumor I got was genetically engineered hybrid between a bunny, a mummified cat, and a pony. Okay.
came from or why they had been left there.
Let me just have one really bloody one. What the fuck?
Crime itself took place in one of the rooms, and the photos were taken by whoever did it. Maybe they were supposed to be trophies or some kind of record the killer never expected anyone else to find. And if the building really had been raided before it closed, it isn't hard to imagine someone fleeing in panic and leaving the prints behind along with everything else they couldn't take with them. However, there are some problems with this explanation. Firstly, in the photos Box uploaded, the hotel rooms clearly appear to have carpeting, but the crime scene captured in the prints has wooden floorboards. On top of that, if the
So yeah, he probably just faked the post.
crime had happened somewhere inside the hotel, you'd expect at least one of the explorers wandering through to stumble onto the room with walls and bedding soaked in blood. More importantly, some of the black and white photographs in the stack show the same body on a white surface that looks more like an autopsy table than anything inside an abandoned hotel room. This suggests the victim was found and processed by authorities at some point, so these prints could have belonged to someone connected to the investigation or to a case file where those images have been preserved as evidence. But even though this theory feels far more
Yeah, that seems like kind of far out there.
plausible compared to the idea that the killer simply left them behind, there's still no solid proof that connects the photographs to a real case. Looking through the missing person reports from the Atlanta area from that period doesn't include anyone whose details match the victims in the photographs. This might suggest the crime happened years before the pictures were discovered, or in a completely different part of the country. Unfortunately, this is where the trail simply stops. Even 20 years later, there is still no answer for why someone would carry evidence of a horrific murder
Yeah, bro, it was just a fake post. I mean, that's the simplest solution
into a
here.
building scheduled to be torn down, only to toss it into a pile of old clothes and just leave it there. On
Okay, that one wasn't all that good. I really like the first one, but
February 26, 2026, a series of videos began spreading throughout the unregulated corners of the internet, capturing what would soon become one of the most horrifying crimes in Poland's recent history. At first, the footage gave viewers almost no context for what they were seeing. It showed a teenage boy standing in a garage, calmly swinging an axe through the air, like he was practicing to hit something. But the next clip revealed exactly what that practice may have been for. For this video, the camera was inside a home late at night. The same boy entered a room where two people appeared to be asleep. He positioned the camera so the room was clearly in frame and stepped back toward them. He then picked up the axe and began swinging, before either victim had a chance to wake up. As disturbing as this footage was,
Really? You wouldn't wake up? Your other person gets mauled in the face with an axe? You don't wake up?
it unfortunately didn't seem much different from the kind of material that circulates on gore sites. These platforms are full of violent videos, stripped of context, reposted so many times over the years that no one knows when they were filmed or where. But as these particular clips began spreading, viewers began noticing that they clearly were not something just pulled from an old archive. Instead, everything about them, from the video quality to the interior of the house, seemed fairly modern, which meant the gruesome event it captured may have been more recent than people first realized. With this realization, the clips broke out of these gore sites and spread across social media and private messaging apps across
Bro,
Poland.
that can't be good for your brain to be just like perusing gore sites all day.
By 4 a.m. the next morning, enough people had forwarded the clips to police that authorities were already treating the footage as evidence from an active crime scene. Using whatever was visible in the background of the clips, investigators were able to trace the footage to a property in the small village of Kodrób in southern Poland within a few hours.
How? Bro, people have been working on this shit for...
The boy in the videos was identified as 17-year-old Łukasz G. When officers arrived at the home, their worst fears were confirmed. They had found his 38-year-old stepfather and 87-year-old great-grandmother lifeless.
Oh, that's why they didn't wake up. They're just so old.
Right where the camera had shown them being attacked. With the crime now confirmed, officers began searching the area surrounding the property, which led them roughly 45 kilometers away to a cluster of bushes by a nearby river where Łukasz was hiding. Given what had just been found inside the house, many would have expected him to panic, run, or try to deny what happened. But the 17-year-old showed no resistance during his arrest and seemed unnervingly calm. His behavior made it almost impossible to make sense of what was going on or what his motive was. Until investigators found one last piece of media he had uploaded after the crime. It was a roughly 2-minute video titled "My Last Statement." In it, Łukasz sat in front of the camera and introduced himself as a family murderer before admitting that he had killed 2 people inside his home. Speaking in the same flat, detached tone throughout, he then described the days leading up to the murders. He claimed that someone at work had been humiliating and insulting him for weeks until he felt he simply couldn't take it anymore. But instead of directing his anger toward the person he claimed had mistreated him, Łukasz turned it
because somebody hurt your feelings at work. That is kind of insane.
Own family. In his mind, because his stepfather kept pushing him to go back to that same workplace, he had somehow become part of the very thing tormenting him, and so had everyone else living under that roof. Rather than sounding horrified by what he had done, Łukasz started justifying his crime, saying that, in his opinion, murder was a part of human life, that people had been killing one another since the beginning, and that the only difference now was that someone like him would be called a psychopath for it. Despite that self-awareness, he insisted that he wasn't sane.
I don't even think you would be considered... You just to be a dangerous society. I mean, you're not a psychopath. Like, you don't understand what's wrong with that. You're just saying, I don't understand why socially it's not accepted.
Kim would be called a psychopath for it. Despite that self-awareness, he insisted that he wasn't sick and promised that he wouldn't take another life again. But to anyone watching the videos, his insistence that he wasn't mentally ill was the clearest sign that he was. On one hand, he looked composed enough to lecture a camera about the nature of killing. Yet on the other hand, he was unable to see anything wrong with the 2 bodies he'd just left behind. Looking back, it's hard not to see him as a
I mean, look at the dude. I mean, I'm not one to body shame, but clearly dude has troubles, you know? I mean, come on.
deeply disturbed teenager who gradually lost his grip on reality.
Somebody should have been watching this guy.
Eventually, Wukash was charged with double homicide and now faces up to 30 years in prison.
It's
In
one
the
of those
time
quiet
since, the
ones
videos have largely been
situation.
scrubbed from the internet, with Polish police asking people to stop sharing them out of respect for the families. Unfortunately, footage like this never
Bro, wait, a 32 and a 38-year-old man? Oh, wow.
people to stop sharing them out of respect for the families. Unfortunately, footage like this never truly disappears and continues to get passed around.
Bro, but why film it, though? Why be weird and film it, though? Like, that, I just don't understand. There's got to be something else you're trying to get out of that, like some validation. Why do murderers kill over something so stupid like their feeling got hurt, honestly? Dude, really? Like, it's just like complete control, like disorder. Like, just because you're not in control of the situation, you're like, oh, let me kill my grandparent and it'll be everything will be better.
In the darkest
What?
corners of the internet.
No, that is crazy, dude. And then the fact that that's not the only one, like, there's probably other videos on those stupid gore sites.
As a way of pulling you into places you never expected to end up. Researching these videos, I constantly get lost in endless forums and disturbing websites where before I know it, my entire day has been lost. It can be very easy to forget to make time for the important things.
Oh, it's an ad. ZocDoc. Good job, chilling scares.
In December
Get that bag.
2014, a Japanese website appeared online with a slogan on its homepage that immediately explained the kind of depraved place it was. When translated to English, it read, "I wish my husband would die right now. I think about it every day." The site was called danasheen.com, which translates to diehusband.com, and
Oh, wow.
it functioned as an anonymous forum where wives could
Just
write
a husband hate forum? That's crazy.
about the men they were married to. First looking at the site, most of the entries read like desperate venting from women who had been holding something in for years.
2023.
"Nothing good has happened in the 10 years I've been with this guy. He thinks it's okay when I'm not good and complains if he doesn't like something. Does the world revolve around him? I'm just annoyed by being with this rude jerk. He's been lying to me for 20 years, and I, being foolish, have been deceived all this time. But I've reached my
I
limit.
mean, there's both sides to this. I mean, I feel like this happens to people all the time.
When I talk to him, he just
They get
lies,
wrong.
and when he's at a loss for words, he stays silent." Posts like these fill hundreds of pages on the site, with
My God, 5,000 pages.
anonymous wives describing husbands who
Holy
cheated,
shit.
gambled away household money, came home drunk, and treated their families selfishly.
Dude, it's all like paragraphs.
But
Whoa.
digging deeper into the posts, that resentment would sometimes turn into something far more disturbing. You see, the site was themed around the popular manga Death Note. Death Note is a Japanese manga series in which writing someone's name in a supernatural notebook causes their death. And the users treated the forum as exactly that, an online notebook addressed
Did it
directly to
work?
the Grim Reaper.
I feel like placebo-wise, it would make you feel better to vent. It's like sending a letter to them or to nobody, but throwing it away or whatever.
Begging him
Bro, I remember that from That's So Raven. I don't know why.
to kill their husbands for them. "How long is this scumbag husband going to live? Grim Reaper, please come and take this scumbag husband away quickly. As soon as possible, please. Good morning, Grim Reaper. I wish my husband would die."
I'd imagine finding that somehow. Like you open their phone or something and they just posted like to the Grim Reaper that they want you to die. Please, please, please die soon.
Right now. I think about it every day.
Wow.
He's a truly awful husband. My heart is always in prayer. Please die soon.
How can you just be putting out those vibrations and like living healthily? Like I feel like your whole vibe would be off because you're just not on good vibrations.
The site's admin even kept a running counter on the homepage tracking how many husbands had supposedly
Oh, wow.
died, as if the forum itself were taking credit. And when a husband did actually die, the tone of the site became even more unsettling as the women returned in ominous celebrations. For instance, one woman described finding her husband cold in bed one morning and calling an ambulance. And her post reveals exactly what she felt when the responders confirmed that he had passed away. "Honestly, I'm so happy, so
God.
happy.
Oh wow, dude, that's horrible. That should almost be used like as evidence.
Thank you, Grim Reaper." While other users in the comments enviously congratulated
So
her.
jealous.
And as unsettling as all of this tragedy is,
Bro, why are y'all married then? You can leave. You could leave tomorrow. You could leave today.
these posts aren't even close to the darkest thing on the site. But once you understand the world these women come from, the site starts to look more complicated than it first appears. Japan is a fairly conservative society when it comes to divorce.
It's like not okay
The simplest way to end a marriage is through mutual consent. If the husband refuses to sign the divorce papers, the wife is forced through mediation and lengthy court proceedings just to get out of a life she no longer wants to be in.
You gotta ask, though. You gotta ask. It's just like, is it cool if we just don't do that? Like, there's a chance they're like, yeah.
Even after separation, most women face judgment from their own families and communities, because divorce carries a level of shame that makes leaving feel like a public failure. And for single mothers,
But for women more so.
it's even worse, as the pressure is often tied to money. Many of the women writing on Dana Sheen described being financially trapped and unable to afford a separate life. So, to many of them, the death of their husband genuinely appears to be the only way to ever live a happy life again. And when a platform is built entirely around this belief, it becomes the perfect place for someone already on the edge to convince themselves that taking matters into their own hands is the next logical step. Which is exactly what happened. In some of the most extreme entries on the site, begging the Grim Reaper wasn't enough. One woman wrote, "I want to somehow find a way to kill my husband without..."
Bro, she kind of cut out the middleman on the forum. I don't think that'll be looked on upon well.
getting caught.
And this is why I'm single, dude. Yes, it's the move.
Pretend to be sad when he dies. Sadly, she wasn't the only one. Some depraved users admitted to preparing bug-infected food and
I found 2 slugs the size of my thumbs. I cut them up while still alive and mixed them in a homemade tartar sauce. Then add them in a salad and eat. Bro, you just tried some experimental shit?
wasn't the only one. Some depraved users admitted to preparing bug-infected food and feeding it to their husbands to make them
ew, unwashed lettuce from the garden crawling full of aphids. You did that intentionally?
sick. But a few went even further and outlined step-by-step instructions on how to poison a husband by lacing his drinks with drugs that shut organs down slowly without raising suspicion. And because these posts are written anonymously, there's no way of knowing whether they are simply dark fantasies or genuine
But what about like IP addresses and shit? There's a way to know.
confessions from women who actually went through with it, which suddenly makes the death counter a lot harder to look at. There's no way to know how many of those deaths happened on their own and how many were planned on this very website.
Nah, judging by the people on that site, they're doing this intentionally.
As depraved as these entries were, some of the hardest ones to read weren't directed at husbands at all. Some of them were written by women who started hoping for their own end. And once you start reading entries like these, it becomes clear that many of the women using this site weren't driven by cruelty. They were writing from places of exhaustion, fear, and years of ill treatment. For some, the darkest thoughts were the only ones that still made sense. And when you read what they were actually living through, it's hard not to understand why. One woman wrote, "My heart is dead. It's being killed by the verbal abuse of my husband, who denies my very existence. When he's in a bad mood,
Bro, I mean, yeah, it's bad there to get divorced, right? But this sounds worse. Like, you're ranting about this. It's a whole thing. Like, why not just deal with people being like, oh, she's kind of awful because she's, divorced? Sounds better than this.
Killed by the verbal abuse of my husband, who denies my very existence. When he's in a bad mood, he takes it out on me. He says it's all my fault, that this happened because my character is rotten, connecting even the most unrelated things and denying everything about me. I've tried to forget, to ignore it, and endured it until now, but I can't take it anymore."
I would just be really mean to him, Like, why would you not just be like stand your ground and be mean? Like, if he's gonna like smack you, then you got a reason to get up out of there.
For others, the ill treatment went far beyond words. "When I was 3 months pregnant with my first child, he pushed me..."
Ooh, see, that's not even fair, bro. Pregnant is not like
"down the stairs."
You don't get to that's not fair. When my 9th month, drove me to a remote mountain, threw me out the car, and dragged me around. Holy shit. I mean, there's, like you said, bro, this is anonymous. Is this even true?
During an argument, fracturing a bone that took...
Like, what happened, I'm sure is true, but is her, take on the story true?
...a remote mountain area, threw me out of the car, and dragged me around. In the end, Dana Sheen, or Die Husband, was built on the
weird-ass thing to lie about, though.
Desperation of women who felt trapped in lives they couldn't escape. But that same desperation created the perfect cover for people with far darker intentions.
Even worse? How does it get worse that they want to kill
On
each
the
other?
evening of February 22nd, 2023, a 26-year-old Microsoft employee was walking home from the Microsoft One Estera building at around 5:45 p.m. when he noticed a man approaching him while shouting at the top of his lungs. But before he could make sense of what was happening, he was punched to the ground and stabbed 13 times. The entire attack lasted roughly 10 seconds, but it was enough to leave him with a skull fracture, a brain bleed, and nerve damage in both his hands.
Holy
Just as
shit.
suddenly as it had started,
Dude, in 10 seconds he did that to you? Oh my god.
it stopped. A few bystanders shouted at the attacker, but he simply fled the scene and walked down the street to his own apartment roughly 4 blocks away, leaving a trail of blood that a SWAT team would later follow straight to his door. The attacker was identified as 27-year-old Joseph Richard Cantrell, who was also a software engineer at Microsoft. That connection immediately led police to suspect a workplace rivalry.
Yeah.
But according to the victim, he had never seen Joseph before in his life, and the two didn't even work in the same building. So the more investigators learned about the attack, the less it looked like Joseph had been targeting someone he knew. And the only place that seemed to offer any explanation was Joseph's own website. When the investigators went through his personal computer, they found a hidden link to a text file. It was a 234,000-word journal that Joseph had been writing for years and uploaded to the internet just hours before he carried out the attack.
Bro, writing your journal in a code is kind of crazy.
And somewhere inside those pages was the answer to why a random Microsoft employee nearly bled to death on a sidewalk that evening. But to understand what was inside the journal, you first need to understand what Joseph believed about himself. And the clearest window into that was the About section
The glow in the back.
on his website. Alongside other surface-level information, Joseph wrote about experiencing what he called neural disturbances, where he claimed to have danced and conversed with processions of rainbow ghost women who kept him company through the night.
Okay. I don't think the guy's sane.
So, before the journal even began, his own introduction already suggested a mind that wasn't interpreting reality in an ordinary way. And those hallucinations would appear again and again throughout the journal, often during some
Oh, it's like work stuff too. Added sound effects for Flame and Strike, released version 3 on Google Play. I took 37 milligrams of 3-MeO PCP plus weed after work. Wow, bro. The walls are moving and it looks to be fading. It's just a long trip report, dude. He just talks about the stuff he's taking. 100 tabs, 200-ish of LSD, bro. Okay. No, he's all over, dude.
acceleration disorder, a condition he believed caused his neurons to fire at a slower rate, leaving him intellectually suppressed unless he corrected it himself. And the way he corrected it would be the first of many unsettling things revealed throughout his journal. Although Joseph had tagged the file as fiction, his introduction said the exact opposite. According to it, the journal had started as a way to track his drug usage, but eventually became what he described as an overall life journal and literary practice. What followed was a 20-page long catalog of every substance Joseph had consumed in an attempt to treat it.
Bro, and it's all the 3-MeO stuff, like the research chemicals.
His self-diagnosed disorder. But Joseph didn't write like someone trying to break free of an addiction. He wrote like a scientist reviewing data. He described amphetamines as his ticket to
Yeah, dude, this looks like the Earwood website that I used to read like trip reports on and stuff.
life, the substance he believed was the only thing correcting his disorder, and he promised to remain addicted until he died. At high enough doses, he wrote, they produced rainbow women and even a white light. After the drug catalog, the journal shifted
So he was just on some random drug then.
into a chronological account of Joseph's life, starting from before his birth, his mother's drinking and smoking during pregnancy, and his father being estranged before Joseph even arrived. Within the first few entries, Joseph revealed that he'd been prescribed Adderall for ADHD while he was still in kindergarten, and that he had renounced his faith by 7 years old. The further the journal went, the heavier the entries became. Eventually, Joseph made it out of Columbus and into Georgia Tech, where he earned a bachelor's degree in computer science.
Bro, how? Dude is not even stable and he just flies through college like
On
that?
paper, it was a remarkable achievement for someone who had grown up in poverty. But the journal made it clear that as his abilities grew, so did his obsessions. He taught himself game development and immediately put that skill to use building a series of deeply disturbing projects that he proudly displayed on his website. Like Profit Launcher, a 2D shooter where the player guns down an endless wave of religious figures
Okay, he's not very good.
including Jesus,
He's not
Buddha,
very
and
good.
others. Its tagline read, "Aim to offend the pillars of humanity's most sacred," and it was eventually banned from both Steam and the Google Play Store. But what his games revealed was less about shock value and more about Joseph's own worldview. They reflected a pattern of hostility towards specific groups that would only deepen over time, because as the journal entries moved into his adult years, the tone shifted from clinical self-observation to something much more dangerous.
I've never been more justifiably paranoid in my life. After everything I've written here, describe my history, where do I go to stop people from hurting
With each
me?
passing entry,
So he's just a victim mentality
his
too.
paranoia grew more serious,
Couldn't
to
be
the point where he
worse.
was convinced that movies were making direct references to his life, which, by the way, is one of the most common symptoms of psychosis. For instance, in one entry from December 2021, he listed dozens of films he believed were a part of a coordinated effort to erase his medical history, give him a disease, and push him toward harming himself.
Wow. Wow.
By this point, Joseph had developed a specific fear of Jewish, Black, Brown, and South Asian people, and in his mind, that fear had calcified into an active conspiracy against him. He believed he was being gang-stalked, and he had very particular theories about how it was being done. In one entry from October 2021, he wrote about how Black and
Oh no, this is gonna get bad.
Latino gangs were working to get him sued, jailed, or killed, all for their own amusement, and that they were
Wait, I thought he was gonna go over that. Screw me out of my money, like tampered vending machines and IT departments dedicated to programmatically and periodically severing my internet connection. Oh boy, dude's crazy.
Perhaps one of the most unsettling parts about it all is how no one around Joseph suspected anything while his mental stability continued to
Bro, 'cause he's
derail
got a degree
completely.
and everything.
Throughout the last year, he remained fully employed at Microsoft as a software engineer. He sat in team meetings, collected a paycheck, and then came home to journal about those same meetings, writing about his Indian colleagues in papers filled with racial hostility. By the summer of 2022, Joseph's paranoia had reached the point where he could no longer stay in one place. He moved out of conventional housing and into a motel, and when the feeling of being watched didn't stop, he moved into another one. He wrote in July 2022 that for 2 years it had felt like an enemy was sitting outside his door the entire time, and that he wanted to learn guitar, but the moment he picked one up, his mind would flood with images of people surrounding his room waiting to
yeah,
get
just
him.
paranoia.
By this point, even Joseph himself seemed to recognize that his mental state was deteriorating. He wrote that he believed he was becoming paranoid. It was one of the few moments in the entire journal where his self-awareness broke through. Before it was gone, buried under hundreds more pages of the same spiraling fear.
But why?
8 years
What
earlier,
happened?
Joseph had described the amphetamines as his ticket to life. But after 234,000 words of paranoia, hallucinations, and isolation, it was difficult to see what kind of life that ticket
I feel like just pausing every once in a while and reading it would be insane. Oh, yep. No,
had
there's a
actually
couple-
led him toward. Roughly 2 hours after his final entry, he walked out of his apartment and attacked a man he had never met. That man was 26-year-old Vincent Labonte, the Microsoft engineer from the beginning of this story. Vincent underwent multiple surgeries to survive the wounds Joseph had inflicted. When police broke down the door of Joseph's apartment, he was found trying to destroy the evidence, a knife and gloves, still covered in blood. He was arrested and eventually charged with attempted second-degree murder and first-degree assault. However, no one has been able to determine why Joseph chose Vincent Labonte that evening. But the journal, now only available on Internet Archive,
Bro, he was probably tripping though. Like we have no idea what he was. He was definitely on something. He's on something every single day in one of these journals. Like it's ridiculous. So he's definitely just had like a bad trip and just wrong time, wrong place. Wow, that's so sad though.
on the surface, plain
Especially like it being at Microsoft, dude. Like it's a good job, good career to have, and like both of them lost it.
crashinfo.com looks like one of the plainest websites on the internet. In 1997, a researcher named Richard Kabachian created it. As the name suggests, it's an old aviation database that catalogs virtually every plane crash in modern aviation history.
Wow.
But one page on this site contains something far more disturbing than any accident report.
Why do like people do this, and why doesn't the government like do this and like have like a public information database of all
The site documents
incidents?
everything from minor landing gear failures where every passenger walked away alive to crashes that left nothing but wreckage and a death toll in the hundreds. For each of these aviation accidents going back over a century, the site logs various statistical data, including what aircraft was involved, when it happened, how many people were on board,
In 1920? Oh my god. How do we know that was even happening?
and the number who didn't survive. But in some cases, it also documents how and why they happened, which means that for some of the worst disasters in aviation history, it's possible to trace step by step how a single overlooked mistake ended hundreds of lives. Unfortunately, Aeroflot Flight 3352 was one of those recorded crashes. On October 11, 1984, the aircraft was preparing to land at Omsk Airport when the flying control officer fell asleep and failed to inform the controllers that the runway wasn't clear. When
Bro, it just fell asleep. It's near the end of the flight. Like, you had a few more minutes to go.
the aircraft touched down at 240 kilometers per hour, the pilots had barely a second to spot the maintenance vehicles directly in their path before slamming into them, resulting in the death of 174 of the
Oh my god.
179 people on board. But as disturbing as it is to read these summaries, the most unsettling part of the site is one specific page titled Last Words. This page is a long collection of voice recordings, each one capturing the final seconds inside the cockpit
Oh my god. And they made that public?
before impact. In some of them, you can hear the exact moment a pilot realizes that nothing they do will save the plane. For instance, in this clip, you can hear how a controlled situation turned into a chilling panic as the pilot realized the runway was too short, only
Wait, was the pilot asleep or the control guy asleep? The traffic control.
after it was too late.
Flaps. There we go. Not flying. Not my flying. Oh my god.
That was East Coast Jet Flight 81 on July 31st, 2008, which crashed into a cornfield beyond the runway, killing all 8 people on board. There are dozens of recordings like this on the site, each capturing the final moments from a different crash and a different crew. In some, you can clearly hear warning messages that pilots deliberately ignore.
Pull up. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
Горизонт target.
Pull up.
Контроль высоты горизонт.
Bro, it's like a robot telling him though. Like why not have a real person tell him?
On that day, pilots had to deal with extremely low visibility due to heavy fog. They attempted a manual descent, but as they got closer to the ground, they were given automated terrain warning alarms. Alarms which they ignored, trusting in their
So that you do get just automated alarms at that point.
own abilities. The aircraft struck a set of trees and rolled uncontrollably a short distance from the runway. All 96 people on board were killed, including the president of Poland at the time, the final moments of which are forever immortalized on planecrashinfo.com, alongside dozens of other catastrophic plane crashes.
That seems like one of the worst ways to go, man, because you're never comfortable on any kind of a flight, you know? And then that's just it, and then you're gone in a second? It just doesn't seem fair. Super lame. That was a really good video. Bro, I have a few more that I need to watch from him too. But the Chilling Scares is just like one of the best channels, dude. Chilling Scares and Nick Rowley probably have one of the 2 best channels for scary stuff for me right now. I've been looking for other ones, so I don't know what other people be watching, but I'm almost done with Bizarre Bub, dude. I've watched every single comp at this point. Anyway, I got 2 more videos. I might do this one first because it's longer, so I can just get it out the way. Abyssal Detector ones take forever, but they're so good. They're just so long. I'm gonna go pee though again, just so that I'm, not gonna pause halfway through this like I did last time, and then it just messed up the pacing of the whole thing. But anyway, give me like a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. All right. Okay. Most disturbing warning signs. Next video. Most disturbing warning signs, Iceberg Volume 2, Abyssal Detective. The OG channel. Finally not Abyssal Detective 2. Wonder what the difference is going to be.
I've been separated from my group.
Quiet. Why are we so quiet?
It's been a couple of hours now, I think. I'm not sure. I was trying to find my way out, and I can't.
Hold up. What did I just do? Wait. Dude, I did that shit before. Okay, no, we're good. Too loud, my bad.
24 incidents, 7 levels.
Okay,
I've spent hours going through the most disturbing signs ever discovered. We'll start with the
Dude, sounds so boring, but I bet it's actually going to be really good.
unsettling ones and work our way down to signs so shocking you'll never look at them the same way again.
Oh, it's just a sign, though. Like, how long could this take?
Level 1. Golf Club. During the Blitz, Richmond Golf Club issued 7 new rules to prevent a game being ruined by a bomb. The club was a popular place for locals in Surrey, London, but by the autumn of 1940, it was caught in the middle of one of the most intense bombing campaigns in British history. Over 1,000 bombs had already fallen across the Richmond area, yet the course inexplicably stayed open. The owners were
1,000 bombs? You know how much damage 1,000 bombs would
so
do?
determined to let people keep playing that they came up with a new solution.
We're gonna golf through the bombing?
A set of rules. The rules stated that players could take cover during a raid.
Oh my god. What? During gun... Bro, it's golfing. Give it up. Come back next week.
Without a penalty stroke for leaving the course. Once the attack passed, play was to resume from wherever
Bro, what if someone died?
they had stopped. However, the rules extended far beyond that. Any shrapnel found near a ball on the fairway could be moved, but only within 1 club length.
Oh, see, now that's just fair. I mean, we're just, like... Let's not have it affect the game, you know? There's bombs going off. Let's not... Wow.
Of where it lay. If a ball landed inside
Dude, yeah. Isn't he? He's great.
a bomb crater, the player could lift it and drop it at the nearest clean lie without penalty. And if a bomb
Bro, why are we still trying to adhere to the game rules? Like, are we that passionate?
detonated close enough during play to move a ball from its position, the ball could be returned to its position without penalty. But the
By
document
enemy
never
action.
treated any of this as unusual. It was just another day. By 1940, German bombing raids had become routine enough that businesses like this were just adapting. And it worked. The members
What?
simply
Dude,
kept playing. Admittedly, the club's laundry building was destroyed by a bomb during this same period, but even then, the course didn't close.
I would leave. I'd leave.
It's still open today. In fact, Richmond Golf Club still holds the
Wow.
original document in its archives.
Okay, that's
I wouldn't go out golfing if it was like a chance of rain, let alone a chance of raining bombs.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, no, that was good, bro. That was level 1. Like, what the fuck?
Camp Boniface is a UN military outpost positioned right next to one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth, the Korean DMZ. Inside the camp
Okay.
is a 192-yard par 3 that looks just like
Bro, another golf course?
any other golf course. Until you look around. Right next to the course, there's fenced-off terrain, military defenses, and areas still marked as active minefields.
What is with
As
golfing?
if all that isn't high stakes enough, the warning signs on the course exist because, well, nobody knows.
World's most... Bro, they have to have, like, a disclaimer that they're not responsible if you die. They have to.
Enough, the warning signs
Danger, do not retrieve balls from the rough live minefields. You gotta tell people to...
on the course exist because, well, nobody knows if the rough ground still contains live explosives.
Wow.
That changes the rules of the game pretty drastically. If you suddenly lose your ball in the minefield, you lose it. You don't walk to retrieve missed shots, you just hope that you walk away without any further hiccups. The course itself
Bro, what is wrong with golfers? Well, why? What's with the thrill?
dangerous. Everyone there has to be in a constant state of military readiness, always aware of the watchtowers, fences, and the fact that the other side of the
we saw a
border
video
is
about this.
actively defended. They desperately needed something to break the tension, but even something as simple as recreation had to be designed around the reality of security. Still, despite the high security and risk involved, almost 1,000 tourists visit per day to see how well they play under pressure.
Really? How many people die?
I feel like there should be a bonus if you accidentally knock your ball into the minefield and it sets off a mine. I don't know.
I was gonna say that's like a trick shot right there. Dude, I love the little quip he adds at the end. He doesn't do that in the second channel.
Spanish flu killed more people than World War I, and this single notice was one city's entire response to it. The city was
Wait, what killed people?
flu killed influenza lockdown. The Spanish flu killed more people than World War I, and this single notice was one city's entire response to it. The city was Kelowna, British Columbia. In October 1918, Kelowna was sitting in the worst of the second wave. The mayor issued a public order that
I feel like that guy with the stethoscope don't even know what he's doing.
same month, all schools, churches, theaters, and pool halls were to close, and no gatherings of more than 10 people were permitted
Bro, this is just gonna be like COVID, though.
anywhere. And here you all thought 2020 was a one-off.
Are you allowed to say
The flu
that?
spreading that October was targeting healthy adults in their 20s and 30s. Ordinarily, that's the exact group
Oh, and then that was like 1918. That was like 100 years ago. Almost the same thing happened.
that should have been able to fight it off.
What are the odds of that?
Instead, their immune systems overreacted, filling their own lungs with fluid faster than doctors could intervene. By the time the second wave peaked, the flu had already killed more people globally than the entire 4 years of World War I. Canada was losing
Oh, I'm pretty sure though, if you get even a little bit of fluid in your lungs, like it starts causing problems. So I could see that being the case on it. Like I don't think you need a lot.
tens of thousands of people within months, and now Kelowna was watching it arrive in real time. So every time they posted that notice, the town was hoping it would make a difference. Shut this building down, stop this gathering, slow this thing down by a day. With no vaccines or medicine available, a printed order nailed to a wall was the only tool the city government had. The restrictions were eventually lifted when the wave broke, but the pandemic didn't end until 1919. This notice is what
that was only a year later.
remains of the fight against one of the
Okay, I feel like honestly 2020 was way more intense than this.
deadliest outbreaks in history. In the soil. Sweden has an abandoned factory so toxic that they set up a warning sign. If you enter this building, the poison can follow you home. The factory in
Wow.
question is Niham Sulfite Mill in
That'll
Isvik.
keep me out.
For almost 100 years, this place was responsible for pulp production, chemical processing, and waste dumped straight into the soil. But when it finally shut down, nobody bothered to clean it up.
Who thought soil dumping it in the soil would be a good idea at all? Like
Build-
that's so much worse than the water, no?
Things were left standing, and so was everything underneath. An investigation revealed tons of dioxins, arsenic, lead, and numerous other toxic heavy metals throughout the soil. What's worse, the site itself made it very easy to get exposed. Even slight contact with the building's surface, walking through the site,
Really?
or just breathing in the
Bro, this is exactly why I wouldn't want to do urbex exploring. Because yeah, it's
area
you aren't paying to go there because it's not like a museum type thing, like a haunted museum thing.
was
But you're just breathing in like mold and like worse stuff.
made it even more physically unsafe. The walls are at risk of sudden collapse, and shafts are hidden under the debris with nothing to mark them. The place is such a death trap that officials put up that sign at the entrance. It warns that the moment you step into that building, you won't come back untouched. Because contamination spreads so easily, the sign is much more than a safety hazard warning. It's
I feel like if I spoke this language, it would be a very clear sign. So I think they did a good job. Because the other sign, bro, that was so pathetic. Like,
basically
closed until further notice, or like limit to 10 people gatherings.
threat. So, how did it reach this point? Well, the answer lies in the 100 years of industrial waste left unmanaged. Today, Sweden's environmental agency officially ranks it among the country's highest priority contaminated sites. In 2026, the demolition finally started.
Oh, good. Oh, this year. Nice.
Level 2. Human soup. Japan has a tourist attraction that may look like a dream, but in reality, it's a threat. All because of a sign located near the
hot springs are too hot. You get cooked.
hot spring.
Like literally.
Umijigoku, or Sea Hell, sits in Beppu, a city in southern Japan with more hot springs per square meter than almost
I would love
anywhere
that, though.
else on the planet. The pool is cobalt blue, incredibly clean, and surrounded by gardens. But every year, thousands of visitors lean over its edge and take photos. None of them ever thinks of touching the water. And the sign there makes sure of that.
Don't
Because
fall
the
in.
thing that makes Umijigoku so beautiful to look at is the same thing that makes it so fatal to touch. The spring formed roughly 1,200 years ago after volcanic activity split the ground open beneath Beppu.
Oh, so it's basically a volcano on top of some water, or water on top of a volcano.
But the water that came up was at 98 degrees Celsius, enough to dissolve human tissue in a few hours. A person who fell in would suffer severe burns almost instantly.
they're done.
And at depths of 200 meters, they wouldn't stand a chance of coming back. To prevent people from meeting their fate, the
you will be boiled. Ooh, that's cold. I feel like you gotta be that way, though. You gotta be blunt.
warning posted at the
Get the
edge
message.
bluntly states, if you fall in the pond, you will be boiled. The sign went viral on Reddit and social media for its bluntness.
Yeah.
The hells of Beppu have been drawing visitors since the post-war tourism boom. The sign has been there the whole time, urging people not to risk
It's
becoming
almost like so bold that it's like kind of casual, actually. Like you'll be boiled, like you're gonna get killed. Like it's
part of a big human soup.
wow. That's a cool like landmark though. I would love to just even see that.
Japan on the northeastern coast, an area the ocean has repeatedly turned into a disaster zone. The ground here is part of a tsunami-prone coastline, where underwater earthquakes send walls of water straight into land without warning. This village has seen it more than once. In 1896, a massive earthquake triggered a tsunami that hit the entire region.
Oh my god, dude, that whole house is just going down the river.
Waves reached extreme
Oh,
heights
shit.
and moved deep into coastal settlements. Anayoshi was
All the
heavily
minivans.
damaged, and most of the village was destroyed. But the community banded together to rebuild their lives. But the risk never changed. By 1933, another tsunami hit Anayoshi. This time it was so severe that only a few
just stop
residents
living there.
survived. Yet, they never faltered. They built the town again. Newer generations took over, and Anayoshi somehow recovered from the catastrophe, only to be struck by tragedy once again. In
Yeah, see, if it's 3 times in a row, I mean, you just gotta live somewhere else.
2011, a magnitude 9 earthquake struck offshore. It triggered a third tsunami that devastated the northeastern coast of Honshu. As the wave moved inland, it entered Anayoshi Bay and began rising toward the village. The Anayoshi people feared history would repeat itself, but then the wave stopped right below the houses.
Oh wow, okay, a little bit of universe action.
Miraculously, Anayoshi was saved, and the reason traces back to the 1933 tsunami. The survivors from that disaster had made a critical decision. If the village were ever rebuilt, it needed a fixed boundary that could not be ignored or forgotten over time. So, they placed a stone on higher ground with one instruction carved into it: remember the calamity of the great tsunamis. Do not build homes below this point.
Okay, well, at least they're learning from their mistake. I thought they were just rebuilding, like, all recklessly.
When that rock
They're planning it.
saved the village, it inspired others. And over time, many coastal towns in Japan had similar
That's kind of amazing, dude. Just the way that landmarks work and stuff, like the way we're able to use like objects for that.
to the sea.
Dude, I always say, like I was in a Boy Scouts and stuff, and we'd always see those like stacked rocks formations and stuff. Like that's a real thing. People do that to like communicate with the other people or whatever. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yet Anayoshi did not follow that pattern. Home stayed strictly above the marker, and the village remained small and elevated.
Ah, that's why it stopped just before. Okay, so it wasn't some universe shit. It was just smart decision making from the past.
That decision was what saved Anayoshi in 1960 and 2011. And the lesson the whole of Japan learned was to never ignore warnings etched in stone.
I mean, that's pretty fair because it's so serious, you know. Don't just ignore it.
It's a public park in Illinois where families hike, picnic, and walk their dogs. It also sits right above the burial site of the world's
first nuke reactor. Oh,
very
okay.
first nuclear reactor. That park is Redgate Woods, a forest preserve just outside Chicago. But very few people know about its complicated history. In 1943, the U.S. government secretly turned part of Redgate Woods into a Manhattan Project research site known as Site A. For years, officials used the site to run classified experiments with multiple nuclear reactors. Now, the experiment
Are there people living here, or these are just like factories only? Because then I guess it's kind of okay. But if there's like homes,
eventually ended in the 1950s, yet nobody came to clean it up. Instead, they demolished the reactors and buried everything on site, including the remains, the equipment, and the radioactive waste. All of it went into the ground,
bro, you know the day they like had to leave, and they were just like, yeah, it's underground. And they're just like, yeah, leave it. Fuck it. It's not gonna matter.
With concrete
That's
and
crazy.
marked as Plot M. A granite marker now stands over the site. It reads, "Caution, do not dig. Buried in this area is radioactive material." Blunt, but effective. But here's the strange part. The original sign once read, "Grave Danger." Now, at some point, someone chiseled the word grave right out of the stone, and to this day, nobody knows who did it or why. For decades, authorities assumed the concrete cap would hold, but by the 1970s, monitoring wells began detecting traces of radioactive material leaking into ground.
I was gonna say, I don't think burying it like does enough. I think that's why we don't just do that. Like it would just be fine.
Water. To clean it up, 500 cubic yards of contaminated soil had to be removed and shipped across the country. Today, the government says it's safe. Families still walk those trails right above the same ground.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's gonna take a long time for the effects, but no, it's not safe. Okay. That's just bad. That's just the government's bad right there.
3. The shipwreck. Somewhere off the coast of England sits enough explosives to potentially devastate an entire district. The strange part is that most people have never even heard of it. In the Thames estuary, a few warning signs and exclusion zones mark the location of an old shipwreck. At first glance, it seems like just another World War II relic.
I mean, that just makes sense, because if you're going to be going through the water, you don't want to hit that thing.
Except this wreck is different. In August 1944, the SS Richard Montgomery left Philadelphia carrying nearly 7,000 tons of bombs and other munitions intended for Allied forces fighting in Europe.
Wow, 7,000 tons of bombs.
It was one of thousands of Liberty ships used during the war to transport supplies across the Atlantic. Before reaching France, the Montgomery stopped in the Thames estuary to wait for a convoy, but it would never leave. On August 20th, strong winds drug the ship's anchor. Nearby crews noticed it drifting and tried to raise the alarm. However, the warnings never reached the people who needed to hear them in time.
Of course.
Montgomery ran onto a sandbank and became stuck. And then the tide went out. As the water level dropped, the ship was left resting unevenly on the sand. With thousands of tons of explosives on board, the pressure on the hull became enormous. Cracks began to appear, and within days, the ship started breaking apart. And soon,
It's just so big, though. That's why. It's so massive.
the wreck had split in two. Now, salvage crews moved quickly to remove the cargo before the situation became even more dangerous, and they managed to recover half, but around 1,400 tons of explosives remained trapped
my
inside
birthday month.
flooded compartments that were becoming increasingly difficult to access safely. Well, eventually, the operation was abandoned altogether. The plan wasn't to leave it there forever. However, that's exactly what happened. Today, around 1,400
Wow. It's never been recovered.
tons of explosives remain inside the wreck, sitting exactly where they were left in 1944.
There's a reason we haven't gotten
Thankfully, though, nobody died when the ship ran aground, and no explosion has ever occurred. Yet the danger never truly disappeared.
Unexploded ammunition. That's not clear enough, dude. We need a blunt sign that's going to tell you, you come up here, you'll be obliterated.
Every
Like,
year, the wreck grows weaker as it slowly deteriorates beneath the water. Authorities continue to monitor the site, plan on removing the masts, and force exclusion.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. No, they plan on it. That's great. Awesome. They plan on removing the bombs. The 7,000 tons of explosives.
Remnants of war. World War II ended in 1945, but its consequences are still evident decades later. The Reichswald Forest near Buchenhof in Bavaria is one of those places where a simple warning sign reflects a much bigger, ongoing risk. During the war, this forest was used by the
Bro, it's all wartime old stuff. Like, why do we not use signs anymore? People just don't listen to shit, so you just stop making the signs.
German Wehrmacht as a military training ground. Soldiers practiced with live artillery, grenades, and small arms fire, meaning real explosives were regularly used across the landscape.
That's ridiculous, dude. Is there not just a better way to simulate training than to, like, pretend? Like, literally pretend? They were doing that in the California thing, too, recently, where it was, like, super loud, and it woke everyone up.
Military training there. Over time, the forest accumulated decades of repeated military activity by two armies without anyone bothering to clean up what was left behind. At the
Bro, that's just the government, dude. We know. That's how the government be. They just ruin shit and move on.
under soil, covered by vegetation, or slowly shifted by rain and erosion. Years later, when forestry workers and maintenance teams arrived, they began to find dangerous remnants. Suddenly, old shells, grenades, and ammunition were
Yeah, in the training fields from all the shots they were firing and didn't clean up at all. Dude, no, that just makes sense. And then you're going to have a sign that's like, oh, there's explosives over here.
with warning signs like this, restricting access everywhere else.
Bro, that whole thing doesn't just say that. There ain't no way.
Even today, people are still finding new unexploded artillery while doing routine work in the forest. So, when visiting, do not step off
Bro, someone just blamed the military, though. Like, what? It's y'all got to be responsible for your shit, too. You just didn't clean up. That's a problem.
or wander away from the path. There is a very small chance you might set off the entire
That would be insane. Well, then the government would finally do some shit about it. Maybe.
warnings. A single piece of paper that dropped over a battlefield in Kosovo in 1999 carried a message that would
That's hard, dude. You can hide, but NATO forces still see you.
blur
That's
the
some James Bond
line
shit.
between warning and threat. During the Kosovo War, NATO distributed leaflets to the Yugoslav army as part of Operation Allied Force. These leaflets were highly detailed. They clearly stated that the army's locations had already been identified
Remain and face certain death or leave your unit and your equipment and get out now. Wow. If you choose to stay, NATO forces will relentlessly attack you with many different weapon systems from many different nations. This is just like the hardest threat ever. Stop following someone's orders to commit genocide and other atrocities against the civilians. You are responsible for your own actions and ultimately will be held accountable. The choice is yours, NATO.
and
That's kind of hard, dude. That's like NATO or
would question whether staying in place was still a good idea since their position was known to the opposing side. Some of the messages directly referenced their targets with uncomfortable detail and specificity. There was no reason to doubt it. But it didn't matter either way. NATO had already planned this whole thing out. While the Yugoslavians were making sense of the threat,
Bro, they did tell you in advance that it was gonna happen.
NATO was actively leading bombing campaigns across Kosovo and Serbia. They were essentially delivering the warning while executing the consequence. See, the leaflets were part of a wider psychological approach. NATO was looking to weaken coordination within Yugoslav forces, giving NATO's allies an advantage. Over 100 million of these leaflets were dropped during the campaign, often alongside ongoing airstrikes. By June 1999, the conflict ended with
So they were marketing while in the middle of war?
the Kumanovo Agreement and the withdrawal of Yugoslav forces from Kosovo. And today, the leaflet campaign is often studied as an example of modern warfare where communication is integrated directly into combat
That's
operations.
actually kind of sick. No, that's actually kind of sick. Yeah, it's just a leaflet, but that's one of the craziest signs ever.
Fit and adventurous. When you read that sign along the Lava Falls route in the Grand Canyon, you'd almost think it's encouraging you to keep going. But then your eyes move to the next line, and the sign becomes a warning. Lava Falls is a short but extreme descent toward the Colorado River, dropping roughly 1.5 to 2 miles through steep, exposed
wow.
terrain. The conditions are harsh from the start. There is no shade, and temperatures in the inner canyon exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's a hike, bro. That's too much of a hike for me.
By the early 2010s, rangers noticed an unusual pattern in all emergencies reported through the year. The people in trouble were not inexperienced hikers, they were often seasoned outdoor enthusiasts. Hikers would descend successfully, reach the river, and then begin the ascent already drained. The real failure point was the climb back up. As they
Yeah,
struggled,
dude, I was gonna say, like, that alone is gonna keep people from being not experienced in doing this at all. They're gonna see it and be like, oh shit.
dehydration, fatigue, and heat stress peaked simultaneously. By the mid to late 2010s, search and rescue teams from the National Park Service were responding repeatedly to emergencies along the same stretch of trail. Many rescues occurred just minutes from safer ground, when hikers could no longer continue despite being so close to the end. That's when they put up the sign. And it's why, right after asking whether you're
Wow. You fit the profile of 3 deaths within a year and endless injuries.
fit, the warning sign says, you fit the profile
Wow, most heat-related deaths occur not far from this sign, 15 minutes from the top.
of 3 deaths within a year and endless injuries.
Bro, that's how you do it, though. You gotta make a sign like blunt like that. There's no other way people are gonna listen to it. That's why stop signs work, bro. It's just huge red and it says stop. Like, we gotta do the same thing.
The sign provides clear instructions on what to do in an
Oh, that's kind of a small sign, though. Like I just said, bro, it's gotta be big. You don't even need all that on the bottom, bro. Like, you could have a little mini thing on there that unfolds. That's like, disclaimer.
emergency and how to improve their chances of making it out safely.
Oh, okay. So it's giving you tips. Never mind. All right. That one's kind of crazy, though.
The pits. At the entrance of Ellison's cave, visitors are greeted by a warning sign that says, "This cave will try to kill you." Some believe it's only for dramatic effect, but the further you go underground,
See, that one's not blunt, dude. That one's just dramatic. It's not the same. You didn't need that top part. I feel like you could have the rest, though. Has killed 3 so far and tried to kill 7 more.
some believe it's only for dramatic effect, but the further you go underground, the easier it is to understand why that sign is there. Ellison's cave lies beneath Pigeon Mountain in Georgia.
Get a different hobby, bro. This is just silly.
From the surface, it looks completely ordinary, but this is considered one of the most dangerous cave systems in the United States. As you get deeper inside, the cave system opens into a series of enormous shafts that plunge hundreds of feet into the darkness. The most famous of these is Fantastic
Wow, that's beautiful.
Pit, a nearly 600-foot vertical drop. To put that into perspective, that's taller than most of New York City's skyscrapers. So naturally, a cave like this attracts thrill seekers and experienced cavers from around the country.
I don't get it, dude. Why would you want to repel a skyscraper distance?
However, what they don't realize is that those massive drops are only part of this danger. The deeper underground you go, the conditions become increasingly
We're just
unforgiving.
getting lost.
Water constantly pours through sections of the cave, temperatures remain cold year-round, and a caver's support system against all this is only rope harnesses and technical climbing systems, which can fail at any moment. Even a small misstep can quickly spiral into a life-or-death situation. In 1999, one caver became entangled in a rope system inside a section known as Incredible Pit. Unable to free himself, he remained trapped in freezing conditions for hours.
Wow.
And eventually, hypothermia took his life.
What a way to
More
go.
than a decade later, the cave claimed 2 more victims. In February 2011, 2 University of Florida students entered Warm-Up Pit. During their descent, complications with their rope systems left them near a waterfall. At first, it seemed like a manageable delay. However, the cold spray continuously soaked their clothing and drained their body heat. Rescue teams rushed to reach
Dude, that just seems awful, doing the climb at all or the rappelling at all. And then it's raining, it's terrible conditions.
them, yet the cave's conditions
go
were
home.
working against everyone involved. And neither of the students could survive. The sign outside the cave warns of those tragedies. It states that the cave contains vertical drops and that you should only enter if you are an experienced caver with specialized equipment and advanced rope skills.
See, bro, it needs to say all that stuff. Like, it's not say, you're paraphrasing. But I mean, I guess it's a scary sign. It doesn't do the job. Clearly, people are still going in.
World War II, malaria killed more soldiers than bullets did. And in response, the military introduced one of the most
Yeah,
ruthless
bro, mosquitoes, dude, they're the worst.
medical warnings ever printed. In the Pacific and other tropical regions, the disease spread faster than most armies could control. Mosquitoes thrived in stagnant water, dense jungle terrain made control efforts difficult, and entire units were constantly exposed during movement, construction, and even rest. Once infected, soldiers could be sidelined for weeks, and in some campaigns, disease left more troops unfit for duty than enemy fire.
Damn, dude, imagine being in the military or army or whatever, and then you're just like in a medical situation the entire time.
Did. To top it all off, Japan cut off access to the most effective drug available, quinine. Instead, Allied forces had to rely on a synthetic drug called atabrine, which worked, but only if it was taken consistently. And the problem was that soldiers did
have
not
that long
trust it.
time.
Atabrine caused noticeable side effects, including yellowing of the skin and nausea. In the middle of a brutal war, many men began skipping doses whenever they felt they could get away with it. But soon, that mass refusal led to a large-scale medical failure. So, along with fighting enemies and mosquitoes, commanders were now also fighting non-compliance. Well, to fix this, the military stopped relying solely on explanations and shifted toward psychological enforcement. They needed to send a clear message. At stations like the 363rd Station Hospital in Papua New Guinea, soldiers saw a poster showing 2 human skulls sitting
These men didn't take their atabrine.
above a blunt message. These men didn't take their atabrine. The military didn't bother with details or statistics, and they had no interest in softening the message.
Yeah, see that there you go. I mean, that's as blunt as it can possibly be with the 2 skulls on top.
Soldiers saw statistics, and they had no interest in softening the message. It reduced the entire decision to a single outcome: take the drug or become the example. Exactly what they wanted. And it worked, but not instantly. Compliance improved
Oh no, yeah, people got to be done. That's why you need the data, bro. You need to say 7 people died here, 3 people, whatever.
only when combined with strict supervision, routine dosing systems, and broader malaria control measures, such as insecticide use and mosquito nets.
Bro,
Over
that doesn't
time,
even look
infection
safe.
rates dropped significantly, especially in the final years of the war. Of course, the sign itself didn't eliminate malaria, but those skulls did change behavior in a way medical instructions
I'm
alone
sure, bro.
could not.
And that, yeah.
I mean, I'd be a lot more inclined to follow my doctor's orders if they're like, do this, and then held up a skull and went, or else.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty bad profession though, but
If
He's
you
right.
drive through South Dakota long enough, you'll eventually start to see white signs with a red X. On one side, it simply says, think. On the other hand, it asks
Oh, what? Wait, where?
South Dakota long enough, you'll eventually start to see white signs
South
with a
Dakota?
red X.
North Dakota?
On one side, it simply says, think. On the other hand,
thought I
it
seen
asks
something
you
like
a
that.
troubling question, why die? When we first found out about these signs, they seemed like part of an aggressive road safety campaign. However, upon digging deeper, we found their purpose to be far more unsettling. Each marker stands at the location of a fatal
Oh.
traffic accident.
That's actually really crazy. That's a really good visual, though. That would deter people from, dying more.
Or in other words, every sign represents a life that ended on that exact stretch of road. By 1979, it had become such a problem that state officials were looking for ways to reduce traffic deaths. At the time, many fatal crashes were linked to drunk driving, speeding, distracted driving, and failure to wear
Bro, driving is so easy. That's the only things that can cause an accident.
seat belts. Traditional safety campaigns were already everywhere, yet nobody ever paid attention to them. So authorities decided to try a different approach. Instead of warning motorists about a potential hazard ahead, they decided to place reminders at locations where tragedy had already occurred. After all, a driver might ignore statistics or a television advertisement, but seeing a marker beside
Yeah, bro, it's just like the skull. Like if you just added a few skulls every couple of weeks to the last one, it would do the same.
the road is hard to dismiss, especially once you know what it means. The program also comes with specific rules. If a victim's family objects, a marker is not installed. If a sign is removed because of damage or road construction, it is not replaced unless the family requests it. But
Okay, so it's not even an accurate counting indicator then, but I mean, it's okay.
as for whether the signs actually work, that's harder to answer. South Dakota has never published a clear measure of their effectiveness, and even today, public opinion remains divided. Some people see them as powerful reminders, others think they have no long-term effect and drive
Yeah.
past without a second thought.
That might be the problem. Like, that might be why you don't want to do research on it, because you find out that it actually doesn't have any effect, and now it has zero positive effect, even for the people who kind of were like, it was working for them.
And you just
Wow.
kind of... So, an unexploded bomb might sound like a
Bro,
lucky
this
outcome.
is just like the other one.
After all, if it didn't go off, nobody got hurt. But an unexploded bomb is still a bomb. It simply delays the
Bro, I bet it goes off, right?
moment it becomes dangerous. That is exactly what a warning sign near the ticket counter in Nong Kea, Laos is trying to tell visitors. Step beyond the marked trail, and you could be walking over undetonated explosives that have remained hidden since the Vietnam War.
Wow.
The warning traces back to a
I mean, that's a simple warning, though. And why are we having it on display, though? Like, I understand why we wouldn't want to touch it, Why are we...
came from the ones that didn't go off. Roughly 30% of the munitions failed to detonate. That left an
Wow, that is way too many, dude. 30%? And that doesn't even count, like, gun jams and stuff that are a good bullet's wasted.
estimated 80 million unexploded bomblets and bombs scattered across the
Bro, the government has just entirely failed. Like, on every aspect of every little part. Like, it's so bad. And then to the point where you can metal detect for military equipment, I guess. That's insane.
bringing people into contact with weapons dropped more than 50 years ago. What makes the situation especially unsettling is how peaceful the landscape looks today. Nong Kea is famous for its dramatic limestone mountains, river views, and hiking trails. Visitors come for the scenery, often unaware that some of the surrounding land remains unsafe.
Oh, of course, because they don't tell you any of that before you get there and you see this blunt-ass sign. And then you're like, oh, that's how they do it here. That's crazy. I just don't get that. I don't know why you would want to even... That's not even that cool looking. And then it's dangerous, potentially, so you don't care about the citizens? That's the vibe I get.
The rogue waves. Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia looks like the perfect place for a proposal. There's the lighthouse, the ocean, the crashing waves, and a view that looks straight out of a postcard. At least until you notice the warning sign that reads, "Injury and death have rewarded careless sightseers here."
Ew, I don't really care for that one, dude.
Reads,
I feel like nobody's gonna listen to that. That's why the birds were shitting all over it. Is that bird shit?
that isn't an exaggeration. In fact, the sign was installed because the same tragedy kept happening.
You people falling from the top of here taking a picture.
And unfortunately, the setup is always the same. Tourists arrive and see a calm ocean stretching toward the horizon. The rocks look flat, solid, and safe enough to walk on. And naturally, many people move closer to
Oh, we just saw a video on this place where they were trying to get the guy out.
the
It was
water
literally
to
the
get a
same
better
place.
view or take a photo. And that's when they enter the danger zone. What tourists don't
The
know
tide
is that
is
the
too
Atlantic
much.
Ocean around Peggy Cove is unpredictable. While most waves break where you'd expect them to, every so often a much larger wave suddenly surges forward. Those rogue waves can rush well beyond the normal waterline and catch people completely off guard. But the scariest thing is that there is no obvious warnings before they arrive. One moment the rocks are dry, next they're underwater. The rocks themselves make this
Wow. Okay. It wasn't the exact same place, I guess. It wasn't even the waves that came up. It was like the water just stirred. So there was like a current inside it and it got pulled in.
situation even worse. Years of wave action have made the granite smooth, while algae creates an almost invisible
Yeah, it looks very walkable.
slippery layer across the surface. And once someone falls, the ocean usually takes over. Over the years, numerous visitors have been swept into the Atlantic this
Oh, bro, I'm sure. Like, people are just silly though. It's just like that demolition video that I keep thinking about that one because it keeps coming up.
Safety patrols monitor the area. Viewing platforms were built to give visitors a safer place to enjoy the scenery. Still, the rescues continue.
Bro, there's been safer places for them to enjoy it from. That's why they haven't chosen those. They don't
And
care
so do
about
the
that.
fatalities. In one recent incident, two brothers were standing on the rocks when a wave swept them out to sea. One was rescued.
Oh yeah, dude, old dudes like this, it's not gonna go well, man. You're not gonna be able to get up off the floor type shit. You're gonna be like vertically flattened by the water and now like disoriented.
And the other died despite a massive search effort involving rescue crews, helicopters, boats, and local responders. So the next time you visit Peggy's Cove, beware of the signs.
Okay, I doubt I'm gonna be going to Peggy's Cove though. 'Cause
Memorial-
all the other people are gonna be there falling in, and I don't want to be around there.
Real or warning. In 2017, Maui witnessed the largest search operation in years. Yet days after, it ended with a memorial plaque and a permanent warning. That plaque sits near the Olivine Pool. Memorial
What was
plaque
that? Never turn your back.
and a permanent warning.
Never turn your back to Mother Nature, or this could be your last memory.
That plaque sits near the Olivine Pools on Maui's west coast, an area that looks calm from a distance but behaves very differently up close. The shoreline is made of sharp volcanic rock
Oof,
with
I would not want to be over here, bro. The same reason, because of the tide.
natural pools carved into it over time. It attracts visitors constantly because it looks safe enough to explore, and it's close enough to the ocean to feel accessible. But of course, that sense of safety is misleading. Up close, the rocks are
Exactly.
slippery, and the
My bad. That's exactly what I'm talking about, bro. That would slam you into there, and you get knocked out for one, and then your body be all torn up.
ocean moves of its own accord. But even more troubling, there is no pattern. Most of the time, waves follow a rhythm that feels
Bro, I just don't know why we got to be putting signs up in every body of water so that people don't jump in and drown themselves.
January 23rd, 2017, Stephen Espinosa was visiting from Utah with a companion. They had moved onto the rocks to take photos, and before they could move back to land, a massive wave suddenly pushed across the rock line.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. She done for, bro. Like, what? I just don't get it. Is it for a photo? Is it for the experience? You got to get airlifted out, and you don't even make it. He was never found. That's so sad. To a wave pool. Boy, that is not good. Bro, all these are about natural disasters and then just humans being too stupid to figure out not to do it. So they need a sign.
The death roll. This warning sign at Nooksack Falls does more than tell visitors to stay behind the fence. It delivers a clear, deeply unsettling message. Ignore the warning, and your name could become the next added to the list.
Okay, that one's a little cringy. But
Stay behind
wait.
the fence. It delivers.
It is not possible to get views of the falls that compare to the professional photographs presented on this display. So present different display images. Like, you don't even care. Your pursuit of marketing just trumps out any kind of like human safety measures.
There's a clear, deeply unsettling message. Ignore the warning.
Okay, well then I just think they're like a kind of a piece of shit people who run it.
Falls is one of the most accessible waterfalls in Washington state. Located just off a highway, it takes only a short walk to reach the viewing area. From there, visitors can watch the North Fork Nooksack River plunge 88 feet into a narrow rocky canyon. But because it's so easy to access, many people assume it is also safe. In fact, this seemingly safe roadside attraction has actually built up a decades-long history of fatal accidents. The danger comes from the gap between what visitors see and what they think they can get away with. The designated viewing areas already provide a clear view of the waterfall.
Yeah, bro, and it's literally just to sit there and watch some water do its water thing. Like, I don't understand why you gotta, like, want to risk your life just for the right angle. For Instagram, bro? For, like, the 27 people at most who are gonna like it and be like, oh, yeah. That seems stupid.
And
Weird way
are
to live your
perfectly
life.
safe. But some visitors believe the fences are overly cautious, so they climb over them to get a better photo, a better angle, or a closer look at the water. And beyond those fences, the terrain changes almost immediately. Wet rocks become slippery, the cliffs get steeper, and a single misstep can send someone into the canyon.
It's walled. It's like blocked off. You're not supposed to go over there. So it's not worn down so where you can walk on it. It's not all dried out because there's other people walking
Below. Most of the deaths occurred here because people deliberately stepped beyond the areas designated.
Dude, people do that here. And there's like a Red Rock viewing thing where you can like see the Red Rock Mountains. And then people, it's just not enough for them. So they want to like go all the way into it or something. Like, you don't just enjoy the viewpoint and get to see the image
to protect them. As the years passed, the pattern repeated so
Nature's
many
weird.
times that authorities eventually
Okay, and then that's what the sign, that's it. I mean, I feel like they don't do a good enough job. Respectful enumeration of those known to have perished. Okay, not all that many. There was a span of 40 years, 30 years where nothing happened.
continue to be added to the list. Most recently, in March 2020.
For a 17-year-old? That's crazy. Okay. No, that one's kind of wild. Dude, they're all just like water.
That we've covered so far.
Oh, and like toxic stuff, yeah. Super fun site. Toxic waste dump, PCB contaminated soil and water runoff.
This one's different because it wasn't put up by the government or by authorities. It was created by residents who believed the government had waited far too long to act. In the small town of Minden, West Virginia,
especially in a small-ass place like this,
warning signs about toxic contamination began appearing long before the area received national attention. The signs warned visitors about polluted soil, contaminated runoff, and a possible health crisis that locals felt had been unfolding for decades. See, back in the 1970s, a company called Schaefer Equipment handled electronic equipment containing polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs. Now, at the time, PCBs were often treated as routine waste. These contaminated oils were dumped into local disposal sites or even sprayed on roads for dust control. What seemed like a convenient solution at the time created a problem that would outlive the company itself. PCBs were later linked to serious health risks, including cancer. And for years, flooding and runoff had carried them through creeks, sediments, yards, and other parts of the
community. And it's that old, though? Like, it's been this long and they haven't... That guy's right, then. Like, you don't even have to know much. You know that this has been there too long.
Community. As years passed, a different pattern began attracting attention. Residents started compiling their own lists of friends, neighbors, and family members who had developed cancer.
Oh,
some community activists...
Bro, and they had to figure out that it was like that? You guys knew and you couldn't just, like, relay it to them with a sign or some shit, bro?
Claimed they could name hundreds of cases connected to the town. What's worse, the EPA returned multiple times to remove thousands of tons of contaminated soil, only for additional contamination to be discovered later. The contamination just kept growing.
Bro, the government's so disappointing, bro. That's all I get from this video, man.
People
It's
living
just-
there.
It's so unfortunate. And then in West Virginia, bro, like, it's already bad.
Australia was facing prolonged drought, record-breaking heat, and extremely dry.
Oh wait, what place?
Survival depends on leaving the area entirely. By 2019, much of southeastern Australia was facing prolonged drought, record-breaking heat, and extremely dry vegetation. When strong winds and low humidity moved through these regions, the focus of emergency services shifted from whether fires would start to how uncontrollable they would become once ignition occurred. After all, dry forests, grasslands, and scrublands
Is this gonna
would
be
have
the smoky sign when it's like the risk of fire?
not fight the weather. Once a blaze
Wildfires?
begins, it can accelerate faster than vehicles can travel on open roads. Winds can carry burning embers kilometers ahead of the main fire front, igniting new fires in completely separate locations. Sudden wind changes can also redirect flames without warning, disrupting containment lines and blocking planned escape routes. During the 2019 and
Bro, I feel like this is like in 50, 75 years when they're like, oh, remember when we used to do controlled burns? Like, that's such a crazy practice.
20 Black Summer
There's gotta be
bushfires,
a better
these
way.
conditions appeared repeatedly across New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. Multiple regions recorded extreme and catastrophic fire danger ratings as dozens of fires burned
Dude, I mean, what kind of a sign are you going to put that's going to stop people from...
fatalities, not to mention leaving thousands with serious health problems. The system was overhauled after
like the
Australia's
air,
Black
maybe?
Saturday fires, which killed 173 people on a single day, rated as catastrophic. The highest level on scale was added directly in response to that event, and authorities now use the rating to trigger mandatory evacuations before a fire starts.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that was barely a sign, though.
The stop
Okay.
sign. On April 6, 2018, a junior hockey team, the Humboldt Broncos, was traveling through the intersection of highways 35 and 335 near Armley. Just as it reached the cross-section, a semi-trailer suddenly entered from the opposite direction. The truck collided with the team's bus at high speed. 16 people lost their lives, and 13 others suffered brutal injuries.
Wow.
Investigators later confirmed there were no mechanical failures or visibility issues involved. The crash was
just
simply the result of the truck failing to respect
Oh, my God.
the marked stop sign. In fact, the location itself was a major reason any of this happened.
Oh, that is the worst, because every time I'm coming to a place where I know I don't have the stop sign, and I know they got to stop, even if I see somebody come, they're coming in hot. And I'm going to slow down anyway. Like, I don't have a stop sign, yeah, but you're coming in like you don't either, you know? I hate stop
In fact,
signs.
the location itself was a major reason any of this happened. Rural intersections like this one often sit on long, straight stretches of road where drivers can maintain high speeds for extended.
Oh, yeah, dude, no, and they just zone out, they drug out, or they fall asleep.
Both the bus and the semi were moving at highway speeds at the moment of impact. There was almost no time or distance for braking once the vehicles entered the same space. In the days after the collision, the intersection became a place of public mourning, and the ignored stop sign became a commemoration of a mistake that led to 16 tragedies. The truck driver,
Hey, dude, they're
Jaksarat
like
Singh
kids,
Sidhu, was later charged and pleaded guilty to dangerous driving, causing death and bodily harm.
Bro, that's got to be life in prison. I'm sorry, even if it wasn't on purpose, bro, 16 people died.
And he was sentenced to 8 years in
Half a year for each person? That's not fair.
prison. Today, the intersection remains active, but for those who know the backstory, the stop sign carries a different meaning.
Nah, that's just infuriating that he got such a light sentence, actually.
Bosnia and Herzegovina marks places where the ground hides the remnants of war. The Bosnian War lasted from 1992 to 1995, and during that time, all sides placed landmines and other explosives across forests, fields, and village paths. But a lot of these explosives were never properly mapped or recorded. When the war
So we don't
ended
know
with
where
the
they
Dayton
are.
Agreement in 1995, the fighting stopped, but the mines stayed in the ground. After the war, people
Bro, again, the government, dude, pick up after your goddamn selves. Like, that's one of the first things you learn as a human. Pick up your goddamn toys, dude. You put the mines down, now pick them up.
slowly returned to their homes and started farming, herding animals, and walking the same hills again.
Right into a
The
mine.
problem was that no one could be fully sure which areas were safe. Some land had been cleared, but a lot of it hadn't, and in many places, mines were still hidden just under the surface.
Oh my god. That's where you just start playing golf. So just like the first one, you just start hitting golf balls over there and see if they pop.
The warning signs were put up to mark entire areas where mines might still be buried. In fact, even now, tens of thousands of mines are still somewhere in Bosnia,
Tens of thousands, though?
hidden beneath hundreds of thousands of people living in rural regions. Often, people collecting firewood, herding goats, or hunting sometimes accidentally step into these areas because they look completely normal on the outside. Forests grow back, grass covers everything, and there's nothing visible to tell you what's underneath. However, the danger never goes away.
Bro, if you know there's mines there that are active, I think it's not enough to put the sign. I think it's not enough. I think you need to go in and take and find out where they are, because citizens aren't going to do that. We don't have the technology or the time.
Over the years, more than 1,700 people have been injured by leftover mines, and hundreds have died.
Wow, I thought nobody died. Hundreds of people are dying. Thousands are stepping on the mines, and they're still not doing anything about it. Bro. Every single time it turns into this, dude. It's being upset with either the cops or the government, and there's nothing you can do at that point. That's the end of the cycle.
And most tragically, some of them were children who didn't even know they were walking into a dangerous zone. In
Wow.
places like
Well,
the
then,
hills near Mostar, the red signs are still stuck into the ground. Decades later, part of the countryside are still not fully safe. They just
okay, then it never will be, dude. If they haven't fixed it now, it never will be, and they're gonna put more mines down before they take those out. I swear. Jeez,
the
how infuriating, dude.
nuclear forest. A warning sign stands in the flat grassland of Semipalatinsk, Kazakhstan. It warns anyone who reads it that the ground beneath their feet is one of the most heavily radioactive patches of land on Earth.
Oh wow.
From 1949 to 1989, 456 nuclear weapons were detonated here, making it one of the most heavily tested areas on Earth. It was chosen because it was described as remote and uninhabited, even though nearby villages were continuing to function as normal. The first tests were carried out above ground, which meant radioactive fallout spread directly through
Onto
wind
them,
and dust
yeah.
across surrounding regions. But after international pressure led to the 1963 Limited Test Ban Treaty, testing moved underground. That change reduced the visible
I
explosions.
don't know, bro. I don't think it matters though, because you know how long it probably took them to freaking decide on this. Like it was probably already too late. Everything just takes too long, bro. When you gotta like communicate with all these other lame ass humans.
Tests. Many residents continued living, farming, and herding livestock in areas affected by repeated testing, unaware of radiation exposure or its long-term effects. Over time, medical studies began documenting higher rates of cancer, birth defects, and chronic illness across communities like these in eastern Kazakhstan. By the late 80s, the situation had grown so undeniable that public pressure could no longer be ignored.
Bro, they're
In 1989,
annoying. There's nothing you can even do though. You can't just get up and move.
the final nuclear test was carried out, and within 2 years, the site was officially closed. However, closure did not mean restoration. Large parts of the site remain contaminated, with radiation levels in certain zones still high enough to restrict access. The land is divided into areas that are partially usable and others that remain off limits for long-term safety reasons, based on how deeply radiation penetrated the ground. The warnings
Bro, if any of it has radiation, I feel like you shouldn't use any of it. What do you mean this building's usable? This one's okay. But the one next door, that one's full of radiation. You don't want to go in there.
signs placed around Semipalatinsk now serve as boundaries around this highly contaminated landscape.
I mean, it was just them not paying attention to the people around, not giving a shit. Like, it's... I don't know. That one kind of is hollow to me.
Vozrozdenya Island. Vozrozdenya Island sits in the middle of the Aral Sea, completely cut off from the outside world, which of course makes it perfect as a testing site for literally every bad thing imaginable. In the 1930s, the Soviet Union eagerly chose this remote island as the site for a full biological weapons testing complex. By the late 1940s, it had become a controlled site for experiments involving
I don't understand why we have to physically test out weapons. Like, can we not just like digitally test out like what you have? Like, do you need to shoot it? Like, especially an explosive?
pathogens like anthrax, plague, tularemia, and smallpox. It was basically a testing ground where diseases were deliberately released outdoors to
Oh, so this isn't explosives. This is just diseases. This is even worse. This is like biological warfare site.
secretive bioweapons programs in
Yeah,
the Soviet Union.
bioweapons.
For decades, there was almost no public information about what was happening there.
Of
Even
course
nearby
not.
settlements were kept where they were with only limited knowledge of the operations. This secrecy continued until the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early
Oh my
1990s.
God, look at this guy. Look at that. Look at that mug. Whew.
When the site was finally shut down and abandoned. Yet the problem didn't actually end. In 1988,
Bro,
large
you're keeping around biomaterial. Of course it's not going to end.
quantities of anthrax material were buried on the island. When the Aral Sea began shrinking soon after, Vozrozdenia gradually stopped being an island at all. It turned into a peninsula, making areas that were once
Oh, wow. And then they have anthrax just all over the place.
isolated, physically accessible from the mainland. That was a terrifying new problem. If contaminated burial pits were exposed or disturbed, there was a very real possibility that those diseases might still be surviving in the soil. All it would take is one person to get infected, and we have a new, horrifying pandemic. In the early 2000s, US and regional teams carried out decontamination work, sealing
See, but if we did the work in the beginning, we wouldn't have to do the work after, which is more.
known anthrax sites and dismantling parts of the remaining infrastructure. Today, despite that effort, warning signs still remain in the region,
Do they bury it into concrete?
advising visitors to be cautious about potential risks. Now, if you found this journey through
Okay, wow. Now that was fantastic, dude. Especially for just signs. I feel like he made it like so. Wait. Oh, Patreon level 8. That's right. Okay. I didn't know I was not subbed to his main. He's fantastic, dude. I love his videos. And then it makes for like the best shorts, dude. And I can just make like a shit ton of shorts out of it. Because so many different videos. Sometimes the Sir Spooks ones are like 5, dude. And then it's just like half of them are ass. I don't even want to make a short out of it. But anyway, I'm gonna pee real quick, and then I'm gonna possibly do this video. I'm gonna make sure I'm still good on time though. But give me like a minute. I'll be right back. Okie doke. My cat stole my chair, so I'll have to deal with that. But he'll probably move soon. He just likes to be up here. Okay, last video for this stream is going to be YouTube's Darkest Search Term by Nightfare. I don't even know what I feel like the darkest search term would have to be like something people like know about, not like just a generic word. Oh, was that me? I couldn't tell. Try FG. Oh. Not much else to do in South Carolina, I guess. Pelzer.
Though it crosses my mind every now and then, it's been several years since I've given the following story any real thought. In 2019, my friends and I stumbled upon a rising post in r/conspiracies under the title, "I found something strange on YouTube. Help me dig." Earlier today I got bored and searched random letters in the YouTube search bar.
Really, bro? I feel like I kind of don't believe that.
The random letters I typed happened to be try GF. I clicked the back button.
No, bro was searching something else. Try GF. Joe, he's definitely looking for something else.
And went to search some more random letters. However, when I clicked on the search bar, some strange suggestions showed up. Here's a GIF of what happened.
Dude, old YouTube.
If you click on the recommended searches, even stranger videos come up.
What was it?
If you click on the
emojis? What's wrong with that? It's not that weird.
If you click on the recommended searches, even stranger videos come up. For example, car surprise egg, shown in the recommended searches above, seems to be some kind of whistle call, as most videos are a bunch of kids reviewing toys. I tried some other random string of characters with no strange results. However, I tried something similar, try FG, and even more peculiar results came up. 6 different accounts uploaded the same 6-second video titled Try FG. They all say, "You did it.
Okay, show me.
Congratulations."
Don't show me a meme.
If you look back at the GIF I linked, you saw the strange suggested searches. Clicking on any of the searches,
I feel like that could be something else though. Like I wouldn't even know what, but I mean, I thought it was gonna be 6 videos of like individual people that posted videos about it. But to me, like the GIF is really
brings up some even more.
I mean, it could
To save
be
you some time,
an
here is
indicator.
some of the whack shit I saw. Straight up cannibalism. A person surgically attaching the bottom half of a dog.
I don't believe this guy, man. Any Reddit post and stuff, 4chan, whatever, is always like got that air of like fake.
To the top half of a cat.
Like maggots crawling out of people's eyes. Good night, Zach Zipzat. Have a good one, bro. Super weird, dude.
Maggots crawling out of children's eyes. And people being slaughtered and beheaded. There is also an extremely disturbing video that I refuse to link. It involves someone
Oh, he's not linking any of them.
being not only brutally murdered, but also having their face chopped off. Someone on 4chan noticed there are coordinates in the description of the video. When followed, they lead to a house in the middle of nowhere. Despite saying they wouldn't share it, OP eventually caves and ends up linking the video created by a user
No, see, I just feel like he's setting this up.
named LZW.
Bro, this is just some ARG, dude. It's a good one. I'll give him that. It's well done. Yeah, bro, in the editing, like, this is just some project video. The Toon Toon. Bro, I bet this is the guy who posted on Reddit. It's his video. Okay, are we gonna get anywhere? I mean, there's not even any audio.
Particular.
You think this person that's like kept there would not even be making any noise? I don't know.
Movements. While
Like, they're not even breathing. Like, there's no noise at all. They don't need to be screaming, like, in pain.
some users believed that what they were seeing was real footage, the overwhelming consensus in the comment section of OP's post was that this was an ARG.
Yeah.
In short, it's not real. And I agree. The cryptic text, the coordinates in the description, and the writing on the wall all seem like a setup for some sort of online rabbit hole that the creator is trying to bait us into. If we try to dig deeper into the channel, nothing shows up, as all of the videos are either unlisted or privated. Searching up the channel's username, we're presented with a playlist titled Pelzer Super TV. Giving the playlist a brief glance,
Bro, why are we looking into it, though, if we know it is most likely an ARG?
we can see that it contains many of LZW's unlisted posts, as well as a myriad of other strange videos. It's hard to tell where exactly to begin with this playlist, but we can break it down into a few categories. The first category of videos are cryptic, nonsensical, and occasionally violent, similar to the video we just watched from LZW. You'd think it was a single channel posting all of these videos, but in reality, there are a ton, yet they all seem to post the same thing, leading me to believe they're all managed by the same person.
Okay. I don't really get how this relates to, like, the darkest term. Because especially if he's thinking it's an ARG, I think it's
The second category of videos are reminiscent of ElsaGate content. Videos featuring characters such as Spider-Man and Elsa, meant to draw in a younger audience, before showing them wildly inappropriate content. If you weren't aware, ElsaGate began to gain traction in 2017 and is still a problem to this day, as predators still try to find ways to manipulate the YouTube algorithm to present their sick and twisted content to children.
Okay.
However, the Spider-Man videos in the Pelzer Super TV playlists are a bit out of the ordinary as far as ElsaGate goes, as they feature text-to-speech voice acting.
Sorry sir, but our intervention would only make the fires worse.
How? That is what you do.
Dude, this is goofy. What are we even on right now? Like, that search term right now doesn't seem like it's worth shit.
Life is in air. My cat. You are just standing here doing nothing. Give me the pose. I will put the goddamn fire out myself.
Stand down now, sir.
Give me that pose.
You have brought this on yourself.
Or finger puppets.
See, bro, but we're just getting into random ass stuff at this point. Like, with a vague connection to the original video. Just because, like, this is his old content and stuff, and we don't know why he was posting this stuff like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it is. Pointless video.
The third category of videos are, in my opinion, supposed to brainwash.
Why are we stuck? Because this is just some playlist that the guy has, right? And it's showing us unlisted videos from LZW, right? Who cares? Like, the guy faked another ARG very well. So why do I even care what the... Let's figure out if that's an ARG or not. Why are we figuring out his background first?
The audience, filled with flashing colors and codes, seemingly used to activate sleeper agents. The creator of these videos likens them to MK Ultra, the CIA's attempt to force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture.
Red, your trigger is Star Wars.
Oh, it's the same thing. Like, he's done ARGs before.
Blue, your trigger is Britney Spears.
The fourth and final category of videos revolves around a small town in South Carolina named Pelzer. These videos are completely normal and eerily out of place considering everything we've seen thus far. Some of the channels who posted these videos about Pelzer are still active to this day, leading me to believe that they have no involvement with this ARG, and their videos have simply been inserted into this playlist for one reason or another.
In my mind, I have painted pretty pictures.
Seems like a really interesting guy right off rip. I mean, the bird alone, and then the piano skills, the voice, the look.
Doing a bit of a deeper dive, Pelzer is fairly unassuming. As of 2010, Pelzer only had a population of 89 people, growing to almost 1,400 in 2020.
People.
In general, there's not much happening in this town. So what's going on here? A strange search term led us to quite the gory video, which in turn led us to this mysterious playlist with connections to Elsagate, MK Ultra, and Pelzer. The sheer number of videos and channels that appear in the Pelzer Super TV playlist make it almost impossible for me to sift through each and every one of them and decipher all of the secret messages, which I might have had to do if not for one video.
Mommy invited the Joker over to visit. What can we get to?
This video in particular stood out to me, not because of the subject matter. In fact, the video is almost identical to many others in the playlist, but because it's uploaded by a channel under the name Stuart Silverstone. This is the only channel in the Pelzer Super TV playlist with a real name as a username, and a profile picture of a real person. So naturally,
Oh, I think I remember you being in the last.
Stuart Silverstone is our next lead to follow. 2 years before Reddit began blowing up with posts about TryFG, a similar site named Vote had already been investigating Stuart Silverstone for his involvement in these strange videos, under the guise that it was another instance of Elsagate.
Okay, but we don't even know. This is just another guy's post in the playlist. We don't even know that this is like. We haven't even verified that this isn't an ARG. We actually have verified that it probably is.
However, users quickly began to take note of the different footage and codes hidden throughout the videos, and realized that this mystery was much more complicated than they first believed. These codes and coordinates would often lead to Pelzer, South Carolina. Going even deeper, users decoded 2 of Stuart Silverstone's messages to say, "All programmers follow the white rabbit. To all programmers follow the white rabbit to Bluebird at Zayx_CXT and Project Bluebird at Geik69.
Okay, maybe he's onto something. Actually.
Both of these usernames led to Twitter accounts, hence Bluebird, making posts similar to what we've seen in the Pelzer Super TV playlist. For now, we're just going to be taking a look at Zayx_CXT.
Dude, wow, he went all in onto it. This is actually pretty deep.
As it contains the information we're after. This account's posts are littered with codes and messages written on notebook paper. Admittedly, I can't reliably read what these say.
Dude, I could never read cursive. I hate reading cursive. I love writing it, I guess. I don't know. It's better than normal. I always like connect letters and shit. Dude, I can't read cursive for my life.
However, one of these posts stands out from the rest. An image of a man holding a child. with a Raw 18 cipher that reads, "Who will find what the finders hide?"
Wait, how do you get that from that? What? Was it a cipher? How did you get a code? This guy's...
On February 5th, 1987, a woman observed 6 unkempt children playing in a park in Tallahassee, Florida, being watched by 2 well-dressed men. Something seemed off to her, so she called the police to report what she had seen, and Tallahassee Police Department sent 2 officers to investigate. When questioned, the men said they were the children's teachers and were taking them to Mexico to establish a school for smart children. Police found that the children were covered in insect bites, were dirty, and had not been bathed in several days. All of them were taken into custody, and the men were identified as Michael Howell and Douglas Ammerman. Detective Jim Bradley from the Washington, D.C. Police contacted Tallahassee Police Department as he suspected that all of this is tied into a case he was currently working on, and was paired up with Special Agent Ramon Martinez. Bradley told Martinez that he had initiated an investigation a year prior into a cult-like group known as the Finders. An informant had told Bradley that they operated out of 2 addresses, one a warehouse, the other a duplex in DC, and were allegedly involved in blood rituals, possibly involving children, and an alleged murder.
Okay, wait, how do you even... What is this from? How do you even find that? Because this hasn't connected back to anyone else yet. This is a separate Reddit post? So
Find what the finders hide.
How do you find this?
On February 5th, 1987,
I don't even get that.
Involving children and an alleged murder.
Okay, right back.
Bradley and Martinez obtained
I'm getting good at the pause game.
Search
moving the timeline game.
warrants and went to the 2 addresses separately. Martinez, in his report, states that he found an individual named Stuart Silverstone, who was in a room containing computers, printers, and numerous documents. According to Martinez, the documents included instructions for obtaining children, purchasing children, and an account of what had transpired the night before in Tallahassee.
Okay, but this is also a Reddit post, so we need to... I can't even trust that. I mean, this whole thing could be an ARG. So it doesn't really change my original thought.
In the early 1970s, a cult was founded in Washington, D.C. by former U.S. Air Force Sergeant Marion Petty.
Yeah, you know, he looks like a cult leader for sure, or at least part of it.
Known as the Finders. Public attention was drawn to the Finders after the incident in Tallahassee, and the investigations revealed that the group allegedly participated in what appeared to be satanic cult rituals and child trafficking. This is truly a lengthy subject, but ultimately the charges against the Finders were dropped, and the subject was suspiciously deemed a CIA internal matter. You already know what I'm going to say, but it's clear that the Stuart Silverstone that was busted for being a part of the Finders is the same person that's being referenced in these Elsagate videos.
Yeah, okay. Referenced.
Along with that, LZW's username is actually a Raw 18 cipher that translates to the game caller, the same name as a novel written about the leader of the Finders, Marion Petty. So why is someone pretending to be Stuart Silverstone creating these videos? Are these Elsagate-esque videos related to the Finders?
Bro, normally I'm like complaining about where they're going and like the path that they're on to solve this shit. Dude, he's on like further than I would be with the shit.
What about the original video of the man in the bathtub? And why do we keep hearing mentions of Pelzer, South Carolina, when the Finders are located all the way in Washington, D.C.? To answer most of these questions, we have to jump back to Pelzer Super TV. There are a few videos I've been holding back just because it makes more sense to show them to you now, after learning about the finders.
I was gonna say, bro, he put so much time into looking at these little videos, these annoying ass videos.
In the first of LZW's videos, for a brief moment we can see a link to a teenchat.org before our cameraman begins messaging bored Benny. In this footage, our cameraman pretends to be a 14-year-old in an attempt to lure a 25-year-old to his house. The footage speaks for itself, so I'll be quiet for a moment.
Nah, this seems fake. I'm definitely thinking this is just like part of the ARG. This does not help. This actually hurts it a lot. Okay. Yeah, we've all seen some jitty on business stuff going on here. Let's get to the whole. No, bro, look at that shit. That's 100%. This is fake, dude. There's the. Bro, this has just gotten pathetic to this point. And he's doing all this research, bro. That's so unfortunate. Nah. Is this like an illustration, or did this actually happen? Nah, dude, this is just a little project. See you, viral. Have a good one, bro. Thank you. I'm about to go to bed soon, too. Bro, I'm convinced this whole thing's an ARG. So can we get to like a resolution point? I feel like he's just buying into all the BS. And it would waste up. Bro, look at this. This is not real. Okay. I don't know what we're getting at here, dude. Get back in here, Night Fair, and figure it out. And there's too much video of it at this point. Like, there's too much video, and it's definitely fake.
It's when one of his kids gets into serious trouble that he discovers that the example he has set has caused his son or daughter to go astray. Oh, but what...
This is so fake.
What a thrill to know that a parent can walk in Jesus' footsteps and be assured...
It's probably one of the best ARGs
The man
I've ever
who
seen.
assumed he was going to meet up with a child is tortured, killed, and eventually buried by the cameraman. I think it's safe to say that the man in the bathtub could very well be another who was caught by our cameraman, or perhaps even the same person. A YouTube search term uncovered a...
Okay, no, dude, I'm convinced this is just an ARG. Like, did you see how stupid that that was so dumb? You genuinely lost me. And based on this chart right here, you've lost a lot of people there too. So this, I'm on board.
Creator is trying to tell us.
Yeah, what are you trying to say with this whole thing?
So what the fuck is happening in Pelzer? Why has the name of this random town in South Carolina been thrown around the whole series, yet nothing has been outright said about it? To me, it seems as if the creator is trying to indicate that Pelzer has some sort of tie to the Finders, MK Ultra, or more.
Yeah, bro, because it's a small town with like originally 89 people in it, and you're trying to grow it as well, right? It grew to like 1,400 or something like that. I forget what he said. 14,000? I don't remember. But yeah, no, it makes sense, dude. And it's a silly ARG.
A search within 3 miles, 40 total offenders are found. Considering a population of 1,400 in 2020, this is an absurd number. Even doing a quick search of recent news about Pelzer.
Wait, how many did he say?
Anderson County's
69 offenders found. That's not crazy. Out of 1,400?
Doing a search within 3 miles, 40 total offenders are found.
40.
Considering a population of 1,400 and
1,440 of them are like registered. Like, bro, I think that's not crazy, especially for a small town. Like, people weird in small towns, bro. Ain't nothing to do. All right, well, that kind of turned anticlimactic. It's definitely an ARG, 100% fake. So, kind of bored of that now. Anyway, that's gonna do it for today. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I definitely enjoyed streaming, and yeah, I posted just before this, and then I'm gonna post twice as well tomorrow too. It's double uploads for the rest of the week, and then next week I'm gonna put out the Haunt Files thing. So get ready for that, I guess. And yeah, right at 3 hours. Look at that aura. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna stop it right on it.